Yes, indeed. It's another Saturday night shoot the breeze. Before we do anything, I just want to ask you guys to make sure you share the show on your social media. I feel like that's the missing link here. That you got folks who show up every week, folks who listen to the playback, but you're not sharing the link. It could be a topic that you particularly liked. Maybe it's a topic that you submitted. Add the caption, share it on social media, particularly Twitter. Twitter is a good place to share, but Facebook is fine as well. Tag me in the post. That'll help drive more people to the conversation. Speaking of that, I forgot to share on Instagram and whatnot, so hopefully you guys will share on your Instagrams, your Twitters, your Facebook, and let people know what you're doing on a Saturday night. With that said, I'm here to tell you what we have in store for you guys tonight. This first topic is from last week. We didn't get to Shoot the Breeze topic number 5 last week, so first one tonight is, could Traore end up being like Museveni? Bobi Wine's historical analysis of the young revolutionary and Traore today. The next thing we're going to talk about is decolonizing. Is there a specific mechanism needed for our people to eradicate the religion barrier to our mental liberation? We're going to listen to a new song, Big Tune. We're going to discuss it. We're going to talk about African naming systems. Last week it was from the Yoruba perspective. This week is going to be from the Akan perspective. And lastly, you remember that quote from Dr. John Henrik Clarke? I only date my equals, all others I teach. We're going to look at a scenario of where you don't debate because these people aren't your equals. Those are the topics that we have for you tonight. Let me make sure I can even be heard right now because I didn't ask for anyone to drop a 1 or no one dropped. Okay, you guys can hear me. Great. Make sure smash the like button, share the show, respond to the poll, and check out the goal that's been created for tonight as well. What we're going to do now is start the show officially, and on the other side, I'll drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1, as well as introduce any and all of my panelists. So do stay tuned.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now, your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the Pro-Black Perspective, where Black problems are addressed with Black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the Revolutionary Matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Yes, indeed. Make sure you also tune in to Brother Bakari, BBN Network, the Forecast Radio, Kofi the Black Critic, as well as Consider Cheek, Realm in the Bush. I actually saw Consider do a live stream this past week. It's been a while. Usually she's on with Forecast. But make sure to tune into all of those shows. And once again, you know, I'm always in the headspace of building, adding more associated podcasts. So if you know of a podcast that you think will fit in here that does something slightly different than the rest of us, hit me up. Give me an intro. And let's see if we can get them on the network. I'm really looking for some African-centered, Pan-Africanist, Gaviite women to join. I want more of those voices to be heard here. And also, this is down the road, I'm also thinking about doing some more youth related type podcasts too. So I might want some youth to join in the future. We'll talk about that later on. In the meantime, Trigger Happy 262 Plus says, number one, being that he can hear me. Daily affirmations by Paulina's out there saying good evening to you as well, my dear. I don't have anyone joining me yet. I know Buana won't make it tonight. He has some family stuff going on. So let's keep Buana. Let's give Buana some positive energy. Right now it's just me. Let's hope that others will join, or else this will be quite a short show tonight. But let's get to it, man. Shoot the Breeze topic number one tonight. Shoot the Breeze topic number one says, could Traore end up being like Museveni? Bobi Wine's historical analysis of the young revolutionary Museveni and Traore today. I messed up and put timestamps up there, but it's okay. Let's go to attachment. Share my screen with you guys. So we'll watch this. It's only, how long is it? It's only about 6 minutes. We'll watch it and then we'll discuss.
I have a lot of respect for President Traore. Of course, I might disagree with the way he came into power.
Sure.
But it's not how it comes into power, but how he uses that power and how he relates with the people. My only disagreement may be with President Traore and is anchored in history.
Sure.
Because many of the people that come to power have very good words. These nice words that I'm saying, General Museveni said when he was my age, even more eloquently. And we agreed with him. He persuaded our parents and they picked up guns. Many of them died because of the idea that he presented, which even right now, even if they presented it to me, I would agree with it, you know? So he was a great revolutionary. Everything that I'm saying, he was saying. But time, and like they say, absolute power, power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. 40 years later, that's what General Museveni did. When he had started, he was the most amazing person. You know, there was zero corruption. Our country developed massively in the first 10 years of General Museveni's presidency, 1986 to 1996. Now, since then, it has only been rolling back because power got onto his head. Not just General Museveni, so many other revolutionaries. Look at Zimbabwe. Robert Mugabe,
you were named after him.
I was named after Robert Mugabe. He was a prized revolutionary and he did so many things.
Sure.
But he just did not do one thing. He did not empower the people, and he did not allow Zimbabwe to go ahead. It makes me think, I mean, I love President Thomas Sankara, but it makes me wonder what would happen if Thomas Sankara made 30 years in power and then power got over him. So that's why I think that President Traore is a great leader, what he's doing for his people. But the lesson we learn, especially from Gaddafi, is that you can do everything for your people. That's one very important thing that you must give your people, the right to determine their future. I mean, you can have your children, you will love them, you will give them everything. But if you don't let them fly when it's their time to fly, when you don't let them go when it's their time to go, to determine their own destiny, then it's going to become a problem. My father was a doctor, and he wished I would be a doctor. I disappointed him and became a musician. When I went to university, he thought I was studying to become a lawyer. On graduation day, he was told that I studied music, dance, and drama. He refused to come to my graduation because so things like that. So it's important that President Traore empowers the people. The greatest success of any leader is to give power back to the people. That is the only justification why people joined you in the first place. We praise the great Nelson Mandela, but what can you put a finger first and foremost on what he did? Overcoming power, overcoming the trappings of power. So the best thing to do that is empowering the people. I'm sure people love President Traore. So it would be wonderful if he gave them a chance to elect him as president so that they feel that he is actually their servant and not their boss. That's my humble opinion.
That's a really important point. And it feels like we're at this moment across the continent where, like you say, we've inherited the 1.0 of liberation politics, and it's reached its sell-by date. And now a new generation.
My friend, my money likes to say, and I agree with him.
All across the continent, that's the mission for the next era, is to take what progress we've been given and keep those parts that are worth keeping, but overturn and uproot those parts that we no longer need.
How I wish our elders would allow us.
Indeed.
How I wish they would realize that our presence is a guarantee of the continuation of us as a people. I wish they get to realize that men come and men go. Unfortunately, it's not the case, especially where I come from in Uganda.
Well, you...
Sorry, my mic was muted. So this is the problem I have with how do I want to put this? This is the problem I have with westernized Africans, is that we believe in this thing called democracy, and it's like we haven't woken up yet to the idea that democracy is a deterrent for us. We really need someone like a Traore. Sometimes we on Shoot the Breeze Pound we call it the guy with the big stick. Sometimes we need the guy with the big stick to come through and be the boss. That being the servant thing, that's good to a certain extent. But you need guys in our situation. We need folks to come through and be the boss. We need folks to come through and with the idea of self-determination and pushing that type of ethos for the people to follow. You know, it was heartwarming to me a couple weeks ago. I forgot what it was they were building. Maybe it was roads, but supporters of Traore in this country, the women were out there laying tiles and stuff, right? The women and all were out there laying tiles. Like, that's the kind of leadership we need all throughout the friggin' continent, right? This idea of, well, let the people decide. Man, the truth of the matter is people in general, and us in particular, if we're being honest, are fickle. We're fickle. We want to be a part of the whatever. We want to follow the cool guy, right? We want to follow the cool things. And so what ends up happening is we have these situations where, you go there and present democracy and give people the choice, and they'll just mess it up. You won't get anything done. And I respect what Traore is doing in that respect. Now, the thing that you have to keep your eye on is that he doesn't become corrupted. Because a lot of folks come in with the greatest of ideas, the greatest vision, and you got to be careful of it, because remember now, these guys make themselves enemies to the West. No one wants to lose their life if they can help it. So you got to be careful these guys don't turn after a certain point. You do have to keep an eye. And so there needs to be a checks and balance. And I think that checks and balance needed to come from the neighboring countries in Africa who are on the same type of time as Traore. So that's my little take on that, is that you're talking about this democracy and let the people decide. The people don't know oftentimes what to choose, and it can be easily led. And they can be turned against you, and you have the best intentions ever. So I've come to the point in life, man, give me the person who has a track record, who's showing that they are for the people truly and for the upliftment of Africa and Africans. Give me that. If he wants to rule with an iron fist in that way, I don't have much of a problem with that, once the people are benefiting. Let me throw it to the chat. You guys had some comments. Brother Anthony is in the chat. You said peace to me. Hold on. You said peace to me. And the chat, we've got Anthony saying, no, Traore is totally different from Museveni. He's generally for the people. Museveni was an opportunist from the beginning. He was masquerading as a revolutionary on interest was power. I'm not sure what the last part meant. Trigger Happy said, we should be contextual because power corrupted to the point where he aligned with the West. So to which ends did he get to the point of wanting to align with the West? That's what I'm talking about, Trigger. We got to keep an eye on this thing. It's not, we can't just, let the brother, do whatever and potentially spiral out and become an enemy of the people. But at the same time, this idea of democracy is just not my thing. KW7 says Bobi Wine is a Western shill. Anthony says exactly. Trigger Happy says Traore has not indicated to me any form of opportunism, so I can't really say he would do that. The issue is more about how we defend this new revolution. KW7 has a thought like me, says democracy don't mean jack. And Trigger says we haven't put the particular pathways necessary enough for people to just decide so easily. We have to establish and remove things to have true people power operating again. But Bakari is in the chat. BBN Network, BBN Black Business Network says peace and Black African power. So it seems like we're mostly on the same page. I don't see where Traore is problematic. And to be honest with you, based on what he's doing, I don't even have a problem with how he came to be in power. Based on what he's doing. Based on what I've been seeing, it seems like the people are all in, and that's a good thing. If you guys remember, we had someone on the panel a couple months ago who was trying to give us the cautionary on guys like Traore, quote unquote guys like Traore, and a lot of us at the time on the panel in the chat kind of silenced that. We kind of dead that noise in terms of putting down this brother, because we haven't seen anything that suggests he will be problematic. We just haven't. And what we need to do, as Trigger had suggested earlier in the chat, we need to defend this revolution. And I'm not going to even lie to you. We need to keep an eye on things, right? We need to keep an eye on things to make sure this doesn't spin out of control. So I had one brave person. I shouldn't say that, right? One person has decided to join me tonight on the panel. That'll be Brother Bakari. Brother Bakari, how are you this week?
Everything is everything, my brother. How are you?
I'm good. I'm hanging in there. Thanks for coming through.
Peace to the chat. You know, I didn't catch what but I heard you talking about Traore and some people being cautious. I'm a little cautious with the Russia thing, and to be honest with you, I am cautious with the Russia thing. I don't think we should, in no way, shape, or form, have any trust in any white people. And I know you find black people that have found some white people that can be their hero, and they talk about Russia. And some people say Russia never colonized any parts of Africa. But you can look and see what Russia have been involved in Africa. You can look and see how Russia was wanting to send their military. Actually, they did, to South Africa to help fight the Zulus back in the day. Russia is, but I understand if he want to try to use Russians to get other people off his back, but you have to be careful when you're accepting their weapons and not building your own. Because like Dr. John Henry Clark said, when the Egyptians used the Arabs to help get the Romans off their back, it worked. But the Arabs been on their back ever since. So you have to be careful when you're using someone else's weaponry and saying you're going to fight. Actually, if you look at Russia weapons now, Russia, they might be beating Ukraine, but they're struggling with Ukraine, and Ukraine is just getting weapons from the United States. They don't have nobody going over there to fight. They had to reach out to North Korea to help them. And you saw North Korea is supposed to be their ally. You saw Russians start shooting at North Koreans, and North Koreans start running to Ukraine for safety. So you have to be careful when you're dealing with these people. And if you're using them, just speaking on military stuff now, and for people who've never been in or didn't keep up, you don't have to be in to know this. You could, I guess you could watch the news and you can learn, but nobody is ever going to give you anything where you can defeat them. United States gave Iraq all those Scud missiles. Scud missiles was high tech in the Middle East. But when they fought the U.S. knew what they had. Those Scud missiles couldn't hit nothing because the U.S. had Patriot missiles. I gave you something to defeat them, but I'm not going to give you anything to defeat me, because everything I got that we given you, we have already designed weapons to defeat that. So yes, I am cautious with the Russian thing. If I tell you I'm not, I would be lying.
No, that's absolutely fair. We've talked about this in the past. Yeah, no, I heard you. It's absolutely fair to be cautious of it, and I hope that Traore is playing chess and not checkers here. I hope that he's getting what he needs to protect himself and to help build up his country. But I also hope he's trying to get off of that in the near future as well. Get what you can, make fair deals that actually help your people, and then when you don't need them no more, you kind of get away from them.
Yeah, and think about this. And people don't have to believe this. I'm absolutely against MAGA. Donald Trump, I'm absolutely against him. We can say what we want. We can't ignore the fact that Russia and Trump is friendly. And you know how they feel about black people. We have to take all of that and we have to be cautious of all of that. So now, do I hopefully Traore, like you said, even though I'm cautious of it, I'm hoping the young brother have a plan. I'm hoping that he's not just trying to depend on the outside to take care of them. Because if that's the case, white people always make deals and work with white people unless they fighting each other. Right? Russia is no different than any of the other ones. Russia want to get in there and get in those resources like everyone else. And it only makes and it makes sense. Aren't they aligned with Turkey? Aren't Turkey working with them as well, Burkina Faso?
Yes.
See, I'm cautious of that. Look how the Turks treat the black people in Turkey. Look how they feel about. I mean, the only thing, and I like I said, hope the brother, and they have committee and whatever they're doing. Hopefully, they have a plan, and they are taking these weapons and breaking them down and building their own, and hopefully, they are prepared for everything. But I don't want to swap one colonizer for the other. I do not want to swap one colonizer for the other. I know some black folks in the United States see Russia as a hero, but I don't want to swap one colonizer for the other. That's my take on it. Yeah,
Yeah, I think some black folks have a white savior complex, and so they might not like the white who's American, but they'll like the white who's Russian, or they'll like the Asian or whatever. And I think it's time for us to start being a little bit more serious about who we are, what we need, where we need to go, etc. With that said, let's welcome in our brother, Real Black Gentleman. Haven't seen you in a minute, brother. How are you?
I'm okay. I got in about 20 minutes late, so I rewound it and listened to the interview, right? So basically, I think it's a mixed bag, because part of me, I do think that there is an inherent, okay, how would I say it? Not every long-lived leader, is trying to take power away from the people. I will say that. I got to go back to Nyerere. I mean, at some point, it can't be a contest. I mean, about party politics and which party, how you know what I'm saying, you become partisan in your country, and you start to, you know what I'm saying, you do want some degree of stable leadership, and it doesn't have to be, you know what I'm saying. People. I mean, you think about life, and you think about people's role and the how where they are in life. I mean, I'm not Ugandan for me to try to really have strong opinions about it one way or another. I mean, yeah, I would love to see new African leaders. I do. I really do. At some point, sometimes, I mean, there is something to be said about doing your job until the day you die. there's something to be said about that. You know, there's no popes in Africa per se. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that democracy does matter. You do want the people, everyday people, to influence and have and know what's going on. I mean, one person can make a decision, can have a bunch of people give them information, and that person can make a decision. But when the information is spread amongst the people, it doesn't matter if all the people are looking at all the information. Many of the people are looking at much of the information, if not all, in fact. So what winds up happening is that, I mean, I think it's a touch and go situation. I think that you know, you don't necessarily. I mean, I don't know, when you rule a country, I mean, and you're actually doing it, I mean, day to day, like every breath, and it's like your people, and you are the embodiment of the soul of your people. I mean, I don't know if you put a time limit on that, unless the people say that that's cool. And if the people don't, then I don't know what to say. I guess everyone. I mean, everyone. I won't speak for everyone. I know I would. I mean, I would love to. You know what I'm saying? You know, but it's not enough for you. You have to have your people with you too. I mean, you have to have some representation of the people around you to, you know, operate. You know, to have legitimacy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you don't want it. You don't want it to turn into a partisan thing. I mean, like I said, with Tanzania. I mean, they had one party. I mean, Nyeri was in power for 30 years. There's one party. Now I'm saying now, because there was at least some stability, at least they're not worried about who's running it. Let's talk about how we're actually going to get this country in a better spot. What can I do to do that? You know what I'm saying? And as far as like any of the directives, that's kind of already been compiled by leadership. You know what I'm saying? We went ahead and sorted things out. So, you know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? We're listening. You know what I'm saying? This is what it is. We don't need someone to go and be the mouthpiece. We already have someone who's doing it, you know, and then you have to worry about actual, like, you know, conflicts. And I mean, you just don't switch. You don't switch drivers in the middle of the road. You don't do that. You certainly, you cannot, you have to be, how do I say it? You want to make sure that there's representation. You got to have some strong sense of representation. And it does have to percolate up to the higher levels. A good leader is always willing to be humble and really listen to the next person, especially if they have an opinion that you may or may not be aware of. I just think that, I know I'm kind of going roundabout, because I think that in this case, I mean, I don't think that Traore is going to turn into Museveni. I just don't see that happening. But I don't want it to be another, like, he's in 4 years and then the same thing that he, you know what I mean, history is history. I mean, you do want some stability. I mean, when a couple months ago, when you had the person who was talking about, well, maybe we need elections, and I mean, nah, I mean, it's not. I mean, nah. I mean, 2 years, 3 years. It is what it is. I mean, if it is a martial situation. I mean, if you're not a part of that situation, it becomes, you kind of are in the outs unless you can highly persuade. I mean, and then that's going to be prone to interruption inherently. I mean, what are you going to do? Talk to the soldiers and say, you know, maybe we should do it a different way, when the commander is not going to let that happen. So it's like, I would hope that, you know, in due time, you know what I'm saying, there's progress, but it's not for me to sit here and say, oh, it's time's up. You know, here's the clock, like they do in America. I mean, George Washington, he was president for 8 years, and then he decided to give it up. He maybe wanted to do something else and not worry about everybody in the country, right? I mean, there'll be always a time. Best thing Traore can do is build up a cadre of people, build up the young people. You know what I'm saying? Build a couple proteges. That's the best thing he can do. You know what I'm saying? So that, you know what I'm saying, when at some point, you know what I'm saying, all the work that he did won't be in vain. I'm gonna pass the mic.
Good stuff. RBG, good stuff, Real Black Gentleman. Yeah, what you were saying, especially towards the end, that, you know, this whole idea, okay, but because we know if they were to have an election today, Traore probably wins it. But this guy, Bobi Wine, knows that if they announce an election, the U.S. will back, or French actually will back someone else, and they'll use a bunch of propaganda and persuasion, and the people will likely go for it. That's how propaganda and persuasion works. And when you have people who are real good at it, like these colonizer types, that's what you end up with. And then what happens to the country? What happens to the progress? Like RBG said, what Traore needs to focus on, forget about how you came into power, forget about democracy, do the work, and mold the people who's going to further the work in the years to come, man. I think that's the best thing. By the way, greetings to Cheryl, who's out there in the chat. Greetings to Jose, who said Bobi Wine smells like a psyop or controlled opposition or even a UN tool. Can't disagree with that. Jose asks, what's up, folks? So before we move on to the next topic, let me ask if there's any final thoughts from any of my panelists on this Shoot the Breeze topic number 1. If there's no final thoughts, then let's make our move to Shoot the Breeze topic number 2. By the way, you guys, if you're listening, you can tell we're short-staffed tonight. I do appreciate Brother Bakari joining. I do appreciate Real Black Gentlemen joining. But if you're listening out there and you're capable, click the link, join the panel, and you too can give your thoughts on each of these topics. Shoot the Breeze topic number 2 says, I have a problem with this word. Decoloniality is indeed epistemic. Is there a specific mechanism needed for our people to eradicate the religion barrier to our mental liberation? This came, of course, with a link that's going to take us, it seems, to Instagram. Make sure you guys can see what I'm saying. Yes, you can. So on Instagram here, this is from Black Home Educators. The caption here says, this video is for Africans throughout the world. Just yesterday, I was thinking about how the church teaches us to fight a quote-unquote invisible enemy, while the real enemy continues to oppress and gain power over us economically. I am reminded of what Frederick Douglass said, quote, I prayed for 20 years and nothing happened until I learned how to pray with my legs. Thank you so and such for this video. So we'll watch the video. It's a short. We'll watch it and then we'll discuss it.
And please scroll. And if you're African but religion has made you deaf to logic, please scroll as well, because what I'm about to say will not massage your religious ego. You will bruise it instead. You will confront the spell under which you live. Let's get one thing straight. Prayer doesn't change nations. People do. Systems do. Leadership does. Education does. And until we Africans understand that, we'll keep kneeling while the world keep building. Aren't you tired of watching the continent with the most prayer warriors languishing in abject poverty? Aren't you tired of binding imaginary demons while our real enemies, poverty, illiteracy, corruption, and tribalism, walk free? My mother lives in a crescent about 600 meters long, and in that 600 meters, there are 3 churches, not a single school, not a clinic, not a drainage system. We are overchurched and underdeveloped. You fast, pray, cast, and bind and wait for miracles, while nations that don't even believe in your God are sending rockets to space. America didn't become a superpower by prayers. They built systems, embraced education, invested in science, and created policies. The Middle East didn't become rich through night vigil. They mastered oil, trade, and geopolitics. They invested in infrastructure and innovation. And China, they don't know Jesus. They don't know Muhammad. They know strategy. They know discipline. They know nation building. But here we are, Africa, the most prayerful continent on the surface of the earth, but the least developed. If prayers alone changed people and nations, Africans will be the richest and Africa will be heaven on earth. So let's stop pretending for a minute. The modern African church has become a business center, selling you oils, promises, and fear while you hand over your bank account. You don't need deliverance. You need discipline. You don't need prophecy. You need productivity. You don't need another 40-day fast. You need a 40-year plan. We have the Congo Basin, the second largest forest in the world, but yet we import toothpick. If that doesn't tell you the level of our sheepishness, nothing else will. So instead of building another church, build a school. Instead of going to another Bible or theological school, go to a technical school or learn a trade. Instead of giving your last money to a pastor, save it and start a small business. Instead of waiting for divine connections, go out, network, and build real ones. Instead of praying for good leaders, start voting with your brain, not your religion or tribe. Instead of casting out demons, start casting out ignorance, because God isn't the problem. You are. He gave you hands to walk, not just to clap. A brain to think, not just to bow. A voice to speak truth, not just to scream amen and hallelujah. So here's the truth. Faith without sense is continued slavery. Religion without reason is mental colonization. And any spirituality that makes you pass like others build, it's not divine, it's a trap. I'm not asking you to abandon your faith, even though I may not share the same. I'm saying stop using it to excuse laziness, stupidity, and silence. God gave us the tools, but we're so obsessed with heaven that we can't even fix the hell we currently live in. Africa doesn't need more churches. Africa needs more thinkers. And until we realize that, we will keep screaming amen and hallelujah while the rest of the world keeps shouting science, technology, AI, robotics, commerce, and geopolitics. If you're not African, please scroll.
I almost wanted to play again. If you, in the chat, drop an emoji for me that represents how you felt about what that brother in the video had to say just now. Drop an emoji that describes how you felt hearing what that brother had to say just now. I agree with what he said, and I am aware that at one time, let's say in America, in the Black South, that the churches did do certain things like this. And I think a part of the reason why churches did things like this is because churches were generally the meeting place for organizations. Even up until, like, I remember up until like the mid-90s when I came to New York, a lot of Black nationalist meeting places were actually in churches. More so than in some established, in some buildings somewhere. It was like in a church. And I think there was a time where the churches, at least it seemed like, if not that actually was, but a lot of times the churches did deal in organization, did try to deal in economics, etc. But that's not much the case today. In fact, I was just thinking about it earlier today. Like, when's the last time you seen your local pastor roll up his or her sleeves and come in the community, not as a photo op, but really working with like real people in the community to clean it up? Like really, again, not a photo op, but really on some quiet, humble stuff, like really come help clean it up, help talk to, whoever needs to be spoken to, and etc. When last have they announced in church, hey, after service, we're going to be down on Market Street and we're going to clean up markets? Like, you don't really see it from at least from what I hear from people who go to church, and you don't hear it for those of us who don't attend. Like, we just don't hear it. We don't see it. I think that's something that I could respect the church a little bit more if they were to do things like that. And if their sermon, if their gospel was the gospel that this guy was preaching in the video. Anyway, Shout out to APTV 13 Keys saying peace. Jose gave his emoji. Let me see. No one else put up their emoji, but I'm going to go to my panelists and see what their thoughts are. I'm going to start with Real Black Gentleman on this one. Real Black Gentleman, what are your thoughts here?
I mean, again, for me, religion, I think that it winds up being a distraction. It winds up being how would I say it? A sense of morality-based things, a sense of trying to control behavior by means of sensational kind of how would I say it? In order to break the spell, you have to have a sense of what is more beyond like religion. Because if you can like, especially if you're using like, if you're saying that religion has like historical or geographical like locations, you can then look into history. I think honestly the only real antidote for religion is history. Because if you don't actually know what happens, you'll take, what happened again 2000, 3000, 4000 BC in this book, so-called book, as they say, the gospel. And I mean, if you actually are able to look at the world at various points and triangulate, what's going on in various times from multiple perspectives, you don't need the book. And then you realize that a lot of the stories, devil, evil, a lot of it is morality, but from a certain particular culture's perspective. That's why you have a lot of the, I mean, it's, if you really think that, like, part of what this goes back to is like theology in like, especially, when we talk about theology, I mean, hell, worldwide. I mean, I don't think that, when Black people became, got into theology, became reverends and ministers and whatnot, they were trying to understand the world from a biblical perspective. And I mean, and to some degree, some of them tried. I mean, it's like, if like the African Methodist Episcopal Church, right? Let's say they were African, right? And they understood Africa. They knew well enough to go to Africa to seek it as a place. But a lot of that was probably informed in trying to, how people decipher Shem and Japhet and who are the races of the world type stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're trying to like understand history backwards by retroactively applying the Bible to stuff, and that is where, if you don't use the Bible as a legitimacy in just as a reference point, but not the final point, what you're trying to do, I mean, then you try to try to make sense of the flood, or make sense of stuff that did not happen, in the way that they didn't put no two animals on no boat and then made them two animals, and then what the offsprings are going to be incestuous. So they're going to have genetic disorders, which means they're not going to make it. So there are no more animals on Earth. But that's not the case when you hear them crickets outside. You know what I'm saying? So, there's things where you got to know how to obviously sort out the nonsense, use logic, use history, and you don't even need the Bible. If you don't need any of the books. You don't need any of these books. I mean, if you're Black, I mean, you don't need the book. You have the land. You're like, what I'm saying? You don't need the book. You have Africa. You have the land. You have the people, the descendants of the people who've been there since time immemorial. I'm done.
I appreciate that, RBG. But what say you to what the gentleman actually talked about in the video too?
Yahweh ben Yahweh Shah. Oh, what the guy talked about in the book. I agree. But if you read the book and know a little bit of that book, the book tells the people to work together. They damn sure told the Hebrews, the Jews, whatever, whoever they are, how they supposed to work together and look out for one another. So a lot of us, when we are using that book, they're using it for personal benefit, right? They're not trying to. But I agree with the things that he was saying. We don't need more churches. We need more schools. We don't need more churches. We need more hospitals. And if you get more hospitals, we don't need more theologians. We need more doctors. You understand what I'm saying? So I agree with what he was saying when he said the African continent have more prayer warriors than anywhere in the world. Look at all of the prayer warriors in the United States of America. And look at our conditioning over here, because we are still looking for something outside of ourselves to do something for us. Whether we can see it or whether it be the white man, we still looking for something outside of ourselves to do something for us. But then when you read the book will tell you faith without works is dead, which means while you believing in God, if you don't do the work, it ain't gonna get done. See, we can believe what we want, but if we ain't doing the work, it's not gonna get done. And I heard you say churches, you don't find many churches preaching this. You're right. If you're gonna find a church that preach this, it's gonna be a small church. It's gonna be a small church. I actually know a few that preach and do things and come out and actually work in a community and want to build up the community. I actually knew a few small churches that got together and wanted to buy up the block in parts of the west side of Chicago, and was talking about how they could put the elderly in homes, single mom. However, government they had a way to get the money through, but they needed bigger churches. They didn't want to go to no banks, so they went to, it was 3-4 mega churches, and they all told them, well, that's not our business. So if you see it being done, it's going to be a smaller church. It's going to be smaller churches, but unfortunately, the smaller churches don't have the money. Like I said, the church I used to go to have a community garden, not just for the church. It's called a community garden for the whole community. They have a house where they bought a house and put showers in there where the homeless can come shower, can get a hot meal every day. I donated them 2 washing machines and 2 dryers. They can wash and dry their clothes every day so they don't have to be out. Could more be done? Yes, but they're doing what they can do. And you're right. The bigger churches, and there are a lot of churches that's not gonna ever preach his word, but his word, what he's saying, I agree with. And I yield the mic.
May I add?
I just want to ask a quick follow-up, RBG, and then I'll let you add what you want to add to. When you think about a black person going into what would they call a seminary or theology school, can we argue that the problem is we didn't get to them first and give them consciousness? So even if they did somehow still decide, which shouldn't be the case, but even if they somewhat still decide, they would have carried a consciousness, an African-centeredness into that so-called calling, and would do things more in line with what this gentleman is talking about. Preach the gospel of what this guy in the video is talking about. Because I sometimes wonder, and I've had this thought maybe like 20 years now, to get to what the prompt is talking about. Is there a specific mechanism needed for our people to eradicate? I was wondering like 20 years ago, man, maybe we should create a church or create churches and install pastors who are African-centered, Black nationalists, Pan-African, Bagaviites, etc. And they go in there and they do the work, the Gaviite type work, the Black nationalist type work, under or within, you know, what they're preaching, this gospel of Christ and all that kind of stuff. Do you guys think that's a thing that we should have gotten to our people so that they'll have an African-centeredness when they take up these positions and carry out some kind of Afro-centric ideology? Go ahead, Bakari.
I absolutely agree with you. Yes. The church can be useful. It was once used. Why can't we use it again? What I always say is those people are outworking us. And I mean it. They're outworking us. They're in the streets. You'll find Christians going door to door, knocking on people's door. They are outworking us. We're on YouTube complaining about them. Or we're somewhere sitting down speaking negative of them. If you ever talk to these Christians, not necessarily Jehovah's Witnesses, but them too, you'll ever talk to any of them when they come to your house, because I'll talk to them. I don't care. If I feel like it, I'll talk to them, but most of the time they run from me. But they're not going to talk negative about nobody who's, you're not going to hear them speaking negative of nobody who believes in Pan-Africanism or who's pro-Black. They just going to stay strict to their message. They ain't going to say nothing negative about none of us. But when we talk, we speak negative of them, but we ain't out doing the work. So yes, we could go out and do the work, and we could use religion to our benefit. Marcus Garvey did it. It's been done before. The church was once a meeting place. Shit, I actually did a live on my channel talking about how the churches in Mississippi was hiding guns. So when the people did fight back, or they're getting harassed, no guns in the house, but they could go to the church and get their guns and bullets and defend themselves to the best of their ability. So ain't nothing happened, but the people with their revolutionary spirit or the revolutionary mindset stop going to the places where our people are. We are being outworked. We're lazy. We don't get in the streets. When I say the streets, get in the street, we don't get in the streets and do what we're supposed to do. Pro-Black, Pan-African, we are almost the stereotype what they say about Black men. We gonna talk, but we ain't gonna do nothing. And at the end of the day, I say it again, and after this, I'm gonna yield the mic. We are being outworked.
Appreciate that, Bakari. RBG, you wanted to add something and also speak to what I just said.
Okay, I guess I didn't really pay attention. I was kind of distracted. But I mean, as far as over churched and underdeveloped, going back to the idea of I mean, just this again, this is kind of just an American thing. I mean, maybe maybe it probably won't apply everywhere, but the churches were used as centers for politics. You know what I'm saying? They were used to advance Black political agendas. You understand what I'm saying? What I'm saying is that, when we deal with churches and we talk about mega churches and giving all of our money to, churches and then not doing anything, I think that what's going to have to happen is, I mean, the people, if you're going to have religion, you can't really shake it. And people are going to give money to the church. Why not church? And like I said, this is applying, instead of the church catering to like political issues, why does the church basically not become a bank? Why is it that we can't basically, if every church, every Black church were a Black bank where we just deposit our money and allow the interest on that, just like any other bank. And then, the pastors would be the head bankers, Lord, instead of them, they might be able to, still have fancy cars and stuff, but there would actually be an economics about it where, naturally, if the banks was decent, they weren't on the up and up, you actually like saved money, had interest, and then, how banks do, and then the banks, the banks would kind of, the church bank could then invest more in the community. I think that it's going to have to be an economic play. You're going to have to figure out how to, like, when we say prosperity preaching, it's really going to have to be a little bit more than just, you know, believing in it. If people are willing to, if some people are willing to put up 10% of their money into the church, I mean, that's like saving. I mean, imagine what they're saving. If the bank were honest enough to not just, spend it on glorification of the church, basically, and of the pastor, in reverence, in representation of a connection to of glory and God, I guess. I mean, why not just make it a bank? And then the banker preacher would just collect the dividends and still have a BMW, but everyone else in the community, they could actually trust that their money's there, not just frivoled away on something else. I think that it's a part of it has to be, you can't, when going back, when we talk about, a lot of these churches in politics and how they're not, how they can or can't be related in politics. I mean, I think that if we're going to have a black church, the economics is going to have to be there. That's directly like investing in the community. And that's just assuming that the pastor bankers would actually, do the right thing by the money and not squander the people's money. I mean, because again, you could talk about what a lot of these pastors are doing with the people's money now. Imagine if they actually just cared. I mean, and this can go for churches, black churches in Africa, everywhere. Nigeria, I see all of these mega churches. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure they're tithing 10%, tithes and offerings, right? They're giving all of their money to the church. If the church were the bank, I mean, might be actually talking. We have a different story about this. I don't know how to get there from here, but I kind of said, I've said it before that, if there's if we just, I mean, when, them Jews like basically do their business in their synagogue. Why can't we do our business in our church? Straight like that. I ain't got nothing else to say.
That was good stuff. Blacks.
Can I say something right quick to what he just said, right? Then it's gonna be it. He said the Jews do their business in the synagogue. That's a fact. They do. But like I said earlier, the Jews go to where their people are. We are not going. We're sitting back judging. We're sitting back judging them, telling how bad they are and how crazy they are for believing that. We are telling them, oh, they're stealing money, but we are not going to them. We're not going to where our people are. Because see, trying to fight Christianity, that's a losing battle. But go to where your people are, meet them where they at, then we can possibly get some of the dividends or do some of the things that Koku spoke of. Before they get that far, let's put some African-centered revolutionary spirit and revolutionary thoughts into their head and how they could use the Bible. So if we go to where our people are, there are things that we can do. Yeah, the mic.
Appreciate that. In the chat, Trigapi says, hence why I said earlier that the religion white people have seeks to empower them and at the very least unify them, whereas Christianity pacifies them. We need our own cultural sphere. He goes on to say we will eventually have to fight Christianity. It just depends on the method. Everything we are mentioning is like strategy and transition. This is why I like to have these discussions. This is why I appreciate the person who brought this prompt here tonight, because it is something that we have to think about how we're going to deal with this Christianity thing. And I get the idea that Brother Bakari is saying is that's a losing battle because it's so ingrained at this point. But what I think we need to do bit by bit is chip away at it. Get the revolutionary mindset, pastors and whatnot, get the people in general with a different mindset, even though they might go into this church thing, and bit by bit scoop out the parts of that don't really mirror who we are, and infuse more of what we need, right? More African centeredness. I mean, that's one strategy, and who knows what we might have to eventually do down the road, but at least for now, I'd like to see some of that occurring. Because it's a shame to me, coming from a black country, right, to see folks preaching this Christianity stuff with a white Jesus involved. it's an absolute shame to me. It's a shame that they're not tying, you know, they're not bringing anything African into it, you know, to make it relate. You know, it's just interesting. But, you know, like I said, if we could chip away at it, there might be a time down in the future when you have your own states, your own continents, your own countries. You might have to ban it, like Trigger Happy is saying here. But at least, at the very least, we need to start infusing more African spiritual practices to it. Cheryl says, yeah, definitely a losing battle in the Americas. So she agrees with Bakari. Cheryl Fire in the chat, he said, the church cannot do as it likes because the church is a government entity. And they go hand in hand in our slavery. Cheryl earlier said all the community work is great, feeding the homeless, but how are churches stopping the creation of homelessness? The matron is in the chat. Earlier she said mega churches were never designed to help people. They only enrich a few founding families. Mega churches were designed to mass pacify black people. White Jesus is a drug we need to detox from. I like that, matron. Shout out to the matron. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the matron's channel and participating in her readings every week, supporting her as she does it. But that's the thing, you know, and I like what Bakari said is we're not really going to the places. We're not really going to those people. And I think, to be honest and fair, I think there needs to be a conversation as to why. I think we really do need to tackle why, because if there was a time where the church was the meeting place and even like Gavi and them wanted to utilize the church in a way that will help our people, like, why is it that we kind of stop going? Why is it that we don't go out? I think we do need to tackle that issue in the future. In the meantime, let's welcome in Black Steel this week. Black Steel, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Thanks for coming through.
I didn't really catch this topic, so we can go ahead and move on to the next one, I'm afraid. So
sure thing. Yeah. Let me just ask the guys who are here, is there any last thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, you said, why did we stop going?
Yeah.
I'm going to answer my opinion. We stopped going because we learned something else. And once we learned something else, we love to fight each other. Because we didn't just stop going. We started belittling the people that goes. We start telling them how crazy they are. we started telling them how crazy they are for believing in a white Jesus. So when we learn something else, even if you listen to the great Dr. John Henry Clarke, what did he say? He never told nobody to put down the Bible, because he said the Bible held our people together for so long through slavery, Reconstruction, Jim Crow. So why should we tell people to put something down that have kept them together for so long? What we have to do is figure out a way we can talk to our people, and we can use that to our benefit. But instead, we don't talk to them. We talk about them. You know, that's just my answer.
So real quick before RBG goes and before Sister Cheryl goes, are we wrong for trying to deter Black folks from believing in this white mythological creature called Jesus Christ? I mean, are we wrong for that though, Bakari? Or should we just put it aside to get to what we're trying to get to?
Well, it's not the fact that you're wrong. Most black people would tell you that they believe Jesus is black. Most black people, not all, most black people won't even say Jesus is white. I'm not saying you're wrong to try to pull them away from that. But what I'm saying we're wrong about is, like, people being a Christian don't turn me away from them, right? We have allowed, because they are Christians, not to deal with them. The stuff I talk about, I probably know more Christians who have weapons and more weapons and ammunition saved, more food saved, and preparing for whatever. Christians and Muslims, whatever. I probably know more of them that have these things saved than people that is not. But if we don't talk to them, we would never know this. I'm telling you, I know more Christians right now that will tell you Jesus is black, and I can introduce you to a couple right now. They're waiting on for whatever happened to happen, because they are prepared and they believe we gonna win, and they believe black Jesus, we gonna win with the strength of black Jesus, since that's what they believe. But they still on my side fighting.
Okay.
I'm not
Okay.
saying I'm not saying don't deter them. What I'm saying is we have to talk to our people so we can learn to work together.
So real quickly, I remember when Malcolm formed the Organization of African Unity, right? He said, leave your religion at home, right? Keep your religion in the closet. What you do in your personal life, if you want to worship religion, that's on you. But when it comes to organizing and working with our people, your religion is your business, right? It's like when you bring it when you bring it out, then we can criticize it. But as long as you keep it to yourself, it should not impede us working together.
But why criticize it if it's not harming us? Because that's what they are. That's my only point. And I'm not even arguing with you, Black Steel. I asked that question because I just see that, because a lot of people do just criticize it all the time. And that I'm just asking. I'm not trying to debate or anything. I'm
Well,
just
you know
asking
what?
a question.
I'm gonna be. Let's be honest. Let's keep it a buck, right? Religion, especially Christianity and Islam to a certain extent, but we're in the United States. We're in the West now. Christianity has been used as a way to pacify the consciousness of African people, right? And it has been used as a way for us to be accepting of our suffering. If we suffer here on this earth, we will be rewarded in heaven, right? Now, that's not the ideology of all Christians, but it is an important part of that. You know, if you talk to a deep religious person, they will say this world is not our home. So what happens in this world matters less than what happens in the hereafter. So many times when you deal with a deeply religious person, their concern is for the hereafter, not for what's going on in this world. This world is just a testing ground. So it's difficult to deal with people who are primarily concerned with their life after their death, right? Why organize? Why create? Why fight? Why fight these demons? Because in the end, the Lord is going to come back and destroy the world, and then it's going to be the last shall be the first, and the first shall be the last. You know, it's that's why some people criticize it. I think that many times when you're dealing with someone who's devoutly religious, you run up against a wall with that mentality of thinking. Now, I'm not saying that's all, right? And there are some Christians who can't organize, who do believe in doing the work here on this earth. But that's where the criticism comes from, is because they're more preoccupied with what happens in heaven than they are what happens in this world as it exists now.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I was just trying to get your answer, because you are absolutely you are absolutely right. I just wanted to get your answer. you are absolutely right. I think I'm gonna become a preacher. Y'all come to my church.
Yeah, I'll come.
That's where the money's at right there. That's where the money's at. That's where the money. I'm gonna build me a lanai just off of preaching.
Black Steel, I need 10% of your money, Black Steel. Actually, in the 21st century, if you go deep into the New Testament, by now I'm supposed to be getting 15%. So blacks there, I need 15%.
That's an inflation tithe right there.
That's
In the chat, I'm sorry, Bakari, go ahead.
Oh no, I wasn't saying nothing. I was saying what you were saying. I was go ahead.
In the chat, Cheryl, our sister Cheryl said, I got to answer this. So without further ado, Cheryl, how are you doing this week?
Yeah. Can I be heard?
Yes, you can. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. Just getting my little baby together. But so what was, I can't remember what the question was. I was ready to answer it right then and there, and then I forgot what the other question was.
You talk. I guess I was trying
to.
Yeah, black people that left. Yeah, why is it that black people left the church? And because Brother Bakari was saying we need to talk to our people and go around them, and it just dawned on me. Maybe first we have to address, well, why did we pull away from that? I think you want to respond to that.
I think a lot of people, especially like people who are like my age, maybe and younger, I think a lot of us left the church because of the evangelicism. Every time you try to question something or you ask, it's not even trying to be, we're trying to be antagonistic, but when you ask people in the church a question about God and like, it could be something simple. It could just be like, well, how did a virgin give birth? Or something like that, or something in the Bible that just makes absolutely no sense. They always shut you down, right? We got tired of getting shut down and not having our actual questions answered. And even if we did have our questions answered, it's, oh, if you don't do this, this, and that, you're going to burn in the fiery pits of hell. Like, you know how traumatizing that is for children, just to tell them that is awful. And then like they like to say things like, oh, well, God is a vengeful God, he's a jealous God. And I'm just like, as a kid, I'm like, what kind of God is this? And then when I look at the people in the church, they emulate like that vengefulness, that jealousy. He will have no gods before him and all this foolishness. Like it's like you see the scandal in the church. You see the ratchetness in the church. And I think that's why I left. Like there's no way. Like at 12 years old, I was like, I got to get out of here. These people are crazy. And not it's not and people in the church always love to cry about, oh, you guys are always criticizing us. Y'all started it. We were just asking questions. We're children. We're being exploratory. And here y'all come with, oh, well, don't question God. It's God. Like, no, no. And that ends like that. I feel like that ended with like millennials. We were just like, no, we're not having it. And they got mad. And then they started crying wolf, talking about, oh, you guys are criticizing us. Oh, no, you guys are gaslighting us. Like, and so that's why we left. And above that, there's nothing good that came from the church. There's absolutely nothing psychologically. So I mean, whatever they help, they do little food kitchens and soup for the homeless and all. That's great. That's great and all, but it doesn't solve the problem. So I mean, to me, that's where it ends.
Appreciate that.
Cheryl gave me PTSD, boy. That made me bring back some shit. Oh yeah. Man,
they crazy. They are psychos.
I remember. I think I was 7 or 8 years old. We had like a Wednesday night Bible study, and we had to watch the Left Behind series. So everything was about the rapture, and the Lord would come, and those who were left behind after the rapture. And I remember the movie ended with somebody being led to the guillotine because they refused to give up their religion. So for me as a kid, I was always scared of something happening to my mom. Right? Oh, if the rapture came You know, my mom would be left behind, or they put her in the guillotine, and that was some traumatic shit. Thank you, Cheryl. Now I gotta go talk to my therapist. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, sister. In the chat, Matron says, I realized church was a scam and that I don't need an intermediary to get to my creator. Trigger Happy says, this is true. We often forget that Abrahamic practices are extremely judgmental and often genocidal to African culture consistently. Anthony says he's trying to get it on. He's trying to get on, but his phone is acting up. Real Black Gentleman in the chat said that's next level. Bakari reminds us of that quote that one black sister said, if it wasn't for slavery, we'd be in Africa worshiping a tree. My goodness. Shout out to Sister Raw and who's in the chat. And yes, I was one of those who had to go to church. And when I reached an early teen, I started to ask the question of, well, how come we talk all about Egypt and how come we don't ever mention African people, black people? And I was told it doesn't matter. And from there, I was kind of done with that, but I was forced to go. So I had to keep going, but I was kind of done with that after that. Looks like more people are joining us. Brother Anthony is here. Anthony, how are you doing this week?
Hello? Can y'all hear me?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
yes,
yeah.
Sir.
Yeah, hey, how everybody doing, man? I'm doing fine. How about y'all?
Good. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I kind of, my damn data running slow, man. I kind of, it been slow. It'll stop on me and everything, so I didn't get everything. But I know y'all was talking about that old time religion, though, right?
Yes, sir. We were in particular. Let me put the prom back up real quick. But it's basically, is there a special way or a specific way we should go about kind of eradicating the religious barrier from the African man?
I got that part right there. I got that part. I think okay, this why I look at it right here. All right, number one, y'all already know we ain't gonna get everybody. You know, that old time religion been beaten into our minds so good. We've been indoctrinated so good that, I mean, okay, just today, I mean, yesterday, a friend of mine, a real good friend of mine, had got some little guys tried to jump on him, man. They almost cut his throat, man. You know, they did it, but it wasn't bad. You know, it's bad. You know, you got to get some stitches. And I was telling my aunt about it, and I was like, I was pretty pissed off, man. I had it on mind to go and go and get somebody. And the first thing my aunt said, leave it in God's hands. You know what I'm saying? Let God take care of it. And that's what we always say as black people. We see when the police kill one of us or do some shit, one of the first things we say, leave it in God, let God take care of it. You know what I said? Because we use that religion thing as a crutch to keep us from doing shit. You know what I'm saying? We can say, now let God take care of it. You know, and I say, and that's the way I look at it is as far as the religion thing, because we got to remember, man, Marcus Garvey was a Christian. It didn't stop him. You know what I'm saying? Reverend, what's his name? Bishop Reverend Cleage over there, the Shrine of the Black Madonna Church. He was a Christian. You know what I'm saying? And he was right there with Brother Malcolm. So I don't think of course, I don't have nothing to do with it. I've been left Christianity. I'm into African spirituality. But I'm just saying, I don't think it's necessarily that Christianity holds us back. I mean, well, it has a majority of our people brainwashed. But I mean, the majority of our people ain't gonna go with us anyway. But for the people who doing things, I don't think that because they're a Christian or a Muslim, it's gonna necessarily hold them back. It's just the way you use it, man. If you go, like Dr. Clark said, if you're gonna be a Christian or a Muslim, be a black revolutionary Christian or a black revolutionary Muslim. And make it work for your people. You know what I'm saying? If incorporate it into your program and help make it work for your people. So of course, while I would prefer our own African traditions, our own belief systems, and our own culture and everything, but I don't want to just blame it on. To me, I think it's just we don't like to do the work. that we scared to go out there and do the work. No, we need a crush to go and say, well, this ill mess here, you know what I'm saying? No, we just need to get off our ass, stop being scared to go out there and do what we got to do. You know what I'm saying? Because you could be an African traditionalist and still be a scary motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So that's the way I look at it, man. I don't think yes, it has an effect, and yeah, we done been indoctrinated over the hundreds of years with that mess. But I mean, I don't think it's anything that can't that we can undo and make it work for us. We can do that. But I think we just got to stop being scared, man, of this and going to do what we got to do. I'll leave it at right there.
Good stuff, Anthony. Good stuff. I like what Cheryl said in the chat. Cheryl, you want to expand on that real quick before I move on to the next topic?
Oh, so you cover it. So yeah, I mean, we can't. I just don't. I think there are, like I said in that sentence, there are exceptions to the rule. Like, Garvey was the exception, but we all have our flaws, but I don't think that means we should hold on to these religions, because with the religion, it's not just the religion, it's an entire way of life. It's a language. If you're a real Muslim, then you're practicing Arabic. To read the Quran, you gotta read in Arabic, and Arabic belongs to the Arabs. So I don't know if you can do that and also do African spirituality. I just don't know. Even the fact that we speak English, and you got to speak English in order to read the Bible. I mean, they be trying to translate it into other languages and stuff, but that's the primary language. So I mean, you taking on a whole people's culture when you take on their religion. Like, you can't leave religion at home. You can't just do that. It's an entire way of life. So I don't see it. I don't know. Maybe there are some more exceptions to the rules out there, and if so, that's great. But I don't think that's what we should be striving for.
Appreciate that, Cheryl. I see Kofi join. Kofi, how are you this week?
I'm doing good. I was listening. I was doing some things, stuff like that. I was just enjoying the show. Yeah, I got a little time here. I didn't see the prompt, but based on what everyone's saying, I kind of got the gist of what we're talking about. And one thing you have, people kept mentioning Garvey. Yeah, that is true. Dr. Clark always says, if you're not going to use religion, he's not telling you not to be a Christian, not to be a Muslim, but use it for the benefit of your people. If you can't use it, throw it out in the ash cans of history. That's what Dr. Clark says. But one thing we're not realizing, and I know pro-Black people that are Christians, right? The problem that they have, right, in this day and age, is that they don't understand it's a form of colonialism. It's easy to accept that, okay, how I dress is a form of colonialism. Certain American, English, Spanish cuisines that we eat, that we like, is a form of colonialism. We have a problem of saying that Christianity and Islam is a form of colonialism, to the point sometimes where what they do, they would like try to blacken up the religion. Like, so I have an aunt, everyone in my family knows how I am. I'm the first everything. I'm the first niece, not the first niece, the first nephew, the first first great grand, first everything, right? And everyone knows how I am and how I feel, right? So when she went to church last week Sunday and told me, like, hey, the sermon that I hear, I know you don't mess with that and things like that, but he said a lot of things that I think that you would agree with, saying that, hey, look, when he's looking at the Bible, he's using the Bible as a tool of encouragement, as saying like there's a message in there for us and things like that, yada yada yada. And I'm like, yeah, there are some things in there that is good. So this is what we do. What's going on right now? We're suffering from cognitive dissonance. And the aunt that I speak of, she's been in Africa. She's a doctor. So, you know, like if you ever heard of the Doctors Without Borders, she's been to Africa, working there and things like that. You cannot tell her that she's not an African woman. She knows she's an African woman, right? So like I said, pro-Black people, right? But they have cognitive dissonance when it comes to their religion, you know? So, and people also mention Garvey. Garvey, not to demean Garvey or anything like that, I would say the same thing with Garvey and Malcolm X in this regard. I'm pretty sure Garvey knew that Christianity was a slave religion. If I never hear him really talk about anything else, but we know Garvey was an African first. He just used religion as a tool, because it was used as a tool as subjugation, but he's using it as a tool as liberation. I get that. Same thing with King. I get that. But if given enough time, if these men were in a space, same thing with Malcolm X. Malcolm X took on an African name, Omawale, and we know Malcolm X was an African first. If these men were in a space where they could study Christianity, study Islam and the relationship that it has with African people, these men would renounce their religion. They just simply would, you know. So it is, again, like I'm saying, I don't want to carry on too long. It's a form of colonialism, right? So once we don't get rid of that, we're still going to be in certain places stuck, because you got to understand. If you understand why Africa, and I say it loud and proud all the time, and some people that don't understand African history don't get me. Not one white man or Arab came into Africa guns blazing and took it over. They always did it by deceit. They always, it's the art of war. Study your enemy. Know your enemy. So what they did, oh, these people are very religious. Oh, I give these people something. Oh, these people are very friendly. So like I told other family members, they cannot, once you immerse yourself in African spirituality and your African ways and African customs, right? They cannot manipulate you. Now that you're a Christian, they could, hey, my Christian brother, what would Jesus say, brother? What would Jesus say? So they could manipulate you with their custom and their religion. They can't do that. If you're an African person, an African man, African woman that is uncorruptible, and you're for the best interests of your people, which is protecting your culture and everything, you're gonna reject it. So now they gotta deal with 100% African person. I can't manipulate you with food. I can't manipulate you with trinkets. I can't manipulate you with religion. I can't do that. So I have to deal with you as an African. If you're a Christianized African, that's a way in. But I'll pretty much end it right there.
Good stuff, Kofi. I appreciate your input and you joining us here tonight. I'll give the last word to Sister Raw in the chat. She says, all them religions come out of war and conquest. Let's go to Shooter Breeze topic number 3. That was a real good conversation. If you're listening to the playback, drop your comments so that we could respond to those as well in the comments after the show has posted. But in the meantime, Shooter Breeze topic number 3 says, new song, big tune. This takes us to YouTube. Make sure you all can see my screen, and I'll play it, and then we'll discuss it.
Yeah. One time for the truth, no divide, no hate, we ride. Charlie, them no be my tribe. They talk like kings, but they act like slavers. Preaching pride while they pulling out razors. Say they for the black, but they hate on the blend. Biracial child enemy again. You calling Africa dusty and broke, but your whole mind colonized like a joke. Hating the same roots you crawled up from. But I see you, brother, where's your drum? You lost, your flag fake, your love conditional. Acting cultish is traditional, marching in circles, screaming online, while we dancing forward, we align. FBA is a cult, no love in your code. No love. You divide and you hate, while we carry the load. We carry it all. You call me mud, but I'm the flame and the spark. I got Africa in blood and God in my heart. So miss me with your shame and your lies on loop. I'm not your soldier, I'm not in your group. Beg my tribe. No, 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 no. Beg up. You are caught in the mask, not the truth. Truth hurts. You said I'm not black cause my mama lied, but you never once stood for my human right. Where were you when they threw slurs at my face? Africa hugged me, gave me grace. Real love. You out here begging massa for checks, while throwing your kin off the deck. You scream reparations, but not for all. Exclude the biracial, then watch us fall. Now I rise with my shades and curls. From Lagos to Kingston, I own both worlds. My people ain't cult, we build and grow. You stuck in hate, we let that go. All this pain you throw, it don't define me. Half the blood you curse is what designed me. I'm the rhythm of the sun, not your chains. You can't cage a soul that broke the frame. Boom. Yeah, we break the chain, truth in my veins. Africa rise, we ain't playing your games. Call me what you want, but I know who I be. Not your slave, not your shame, I'm free. FBA is a cult, no love in your code. Tell them. So you divide and you hate, while we carry the load. We carry it in. You call me mad, but I'm the flame and the spark. I got Africa and God and my hair. So miss me with your shame and your lies on loop. I'm not your soldier, I'm not in your group. Let my tribe. No, 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 no. Let them know. You are caught in the mask, not the truth. You can't divide us anymore. My blood ain't dirty, it's divine. Africa claims me and I claim her. That's the only tribe I ride for.
Yes, indeed. Drop a emoji like Jose did in the chat for how you felt
You need a
about that.
horn for that. You need a horn for that, brother.
I know. I don't have my sound effects here, but RBG pointed out Angry Biracial Studios. Peep that. And Trigger Happy put up the flame. So drop your emojis in the chat for how you felt about that track. Let me start with RBG. RBG, what are your thoughts on what you heard?
Look, see, this is where the confliction comes through. Oh, okay. I thought, is this like an African? Okay, so are they Jamaicans? And who is this woman who's like, is she talking about? Well, look, see, it's like, see, who was the us and them and conflicting identities, and it's like, can I really take it to heart? Not look. Man, like I just pay attention to the stuff. And it's just like, I mean, people guys want to do so, but I mean, I don't know how to feel about it one way. I don't know if I can call it. I mean, if she feels the type of way, she feels the type of way. But it's like, is you see where I'm getting at? Conflicting identities, and I'm gonna pass the mic.
All right, RBG. Sister Raw put up the fire emoji. Jose put LOL. Cheryl laugh. Cheryl, what say you to what you just heard?
I don't know really. Like I think I see a lot of positive things in it, in the sense that, Africa, like for people who are ignorant, Africa is, it is, with all the things that are going on there. I mean, it is, I don't know if rising is the right word, but it has the youngest population in the world, when that usually means that, economically, that's going to be the continent that people are looking to grow their own economies. I mean, they're already doing that, But China's there, every country's there. So I mean, to me, it's like, yes, we should be uniting. Um, but I'm not sure what I don't know if you can make that bigger. Biracial studios. That's interesting. I don't know what that's about. Um, I do understand why people feel strongly about FBA, and I don't, because usually when you talk to somebody who says they are foundational Black American, they have a lot of like kind of hateful and nasty things to say about Africans. But I just feel like it's a back and forth though. I just feel like it's a distraction. And for people to react so strongly to FBA, like when there's so many other things going on, especially on the continent, in terms of tribal wars and everything like that, it just seems a little um like insignificant. FBA seems a little insignificant to me. Um but I just don't know I don't know the biracial studies. I don't know, like, do people on the continent think that African Americans or Black Americans are biracial? Is that what they're getting at? I don't know. uh, it just seems to me like more tribal wars. That's all.
And thank you for that, Cheryl. The thing is that a lot of times what we think is insignificant could be detrimental. A tick can bite you. You might not think nothing of it, but you could die from Lyme disease because of it, right? This stuff is starting, some of this FBA ADOS stuff is starting to come off the internet and get into the real world. I'm going to throw it to Brother Bakari to speak on some of that. Brother Bakari, what are your thoughts?
FBA is a cult.
That's a banger, ain't it? That's a banger.
It's most definitely a cult, and it's not. I don't go around listening to these people on social media, but I did for a minute, but and there's no need. But I don't see how they can say anything about biracials. And the guy that started it, wife is a mulatto, which is which is crazy. But it has bred out into the streets. And that's the only time I'm gonna confront it or say anything about it. I'm just leaving these people be on social media. I'll let other people do that. Uh the other day I was at the Black Farmers. I was getting me some fruits and vegetables. And in the process, and he just started telling me, yeah, we Foundation of Black Americans. And I'm like, no, I'm African American. You're not indigenous? No. But he made it a point to let me know that he thought all of us were Foundation of Black Americans. And the first thing he said, and when they talk about immigrants, they're never going to talk about white people. See, I like what Trump doing. That's a great big red flag for me. I like what Trump doing. He getting rid of the immigrants, because see, these Jamaicans and these Haitians, they getting in our way of getting reparations. So they don't like the answer that I give them. There's no Jamaican or Haitian stopping these white people in this country from giving you no money. Y'all scared of these white folks. That's who's not giving you reparations. But they be saying we don't deserve it. It don't make a difference what they say. Them two people that said you don't deserve it ain't got nothing to do with these white folks in this country not giving it to you. Y'all afraid to fight them, so you look to fight other black people. It's the market at the Malcolm X. They do a thing here for his birthday. It's called the Malcolm X Pan-African Festival. And I literally, because see, my grandson, his mama, on his mama's a Haitian. My kids, my two youngest kids, on their mama's side, they are Trinidadian and Geechee. So I literally had somebody who was FBA, ADOS. And if I was you, I wouldn't talk to your grandson. Them Haitians down like, dude, who the hell do you think you're talking to? This foolishness is out here in the streets now. And I promise you, it is spreading. But once again, I'll go back to, like I said about the church when I agree with Anthony in the chat, because I had said it earlier. People are outworking us. They are outworking us. We are not out in the streets. They're out in the streets with this foolishness, with this stupidity, and it's spreading. We are not out in the streets spreading our message. That's why I put in the chat, Christians, Muslims, and everybody else absolutely outwork us. But FBA is an absolute problem for African Americans. I ask people don't ever call me a Black American, because I'm not going to take Africa out of my name to hopefully that can make white folks look at me differently. I understand where it used to be used interchangeably, but Black American and an African American is not interchangeable anymore. We look the same, but we are completely different. Black Americans, they are looking to be white adjacent. African Americans are looking to be liberated from whiteness and have control of our communities and where we can have the power and the things that we do and connect with the continent, the ones that go back and live on the continent, stay in touch and work with the ones that's still here or in South America or the Caribbeans or wherever we are. See, we're different, but it has bled out into the streets, and it's becoming a problem, a big problem from African Americans. And on that, I yield the mic.
Appreciate that, Brother Bakar. Let me hear from Brother Anthony. Anthony, what say you?
Yeah, I thought the video. I like the song. I thought the song was pretty good though, man. Yeah, I like the video. But and hey, man, it's in my family now, man. My brother just got married to a sister from Dominica. You know what I'm saying? So he married a tether. You know what I'm saying? One of the Black immigrants and everything. And so FBA gonna be mad at him now. But yeah, they gonna be mad at. I told him, I said, yeah, you know, the foundation of Black America gonna be mad at you. But I'm just like, y'all know where I stand, man. You know, I mean, I despise what they stand for, man. FBA, I don't prescribe to that foolishness, man. You know, it make me sick when I hear it. I was almost gonna get off the channel, off the page there, you know, when I seen this shit. But because I get tired of it, man. I mean, I've been seeing this shit all weekend, man. You know what I'm saying? All on social media, man, with this foolishness, man. But my only thing is, I don't want FB, like Bakari was saying, he made the difference between African Americans and Black Americans. You know what I'm saying? To me, FBA represent Black America. You know what I'm saying? And like some plantation Negro shit. You know what I'm saying? And the first, you scared to fight the motherfucker who got his foot on your goddamn neck. So you're gonna go and pick some low hanging fruit, which is your brother. You know what I'm saying? Your brother, your sister. Okay, well, let's get them immigrants. No, them Haitians and them Jamaicans, and you know, and those Black immigrants. You know, and that shit that is you know, that shit that just get on my nerve, man. Y'all know they had the boycott, man. You know, we came out strong with the anti-boycott thing. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna boycott African businesses. No, we all, a group of our friends, we made videos going to African restaurants and African stores and telling them we ain't boycotting a damn thing. But my only thing, man, I don't like that FBA thing being associated with African people, Black people in America. You know what I'm saying? Because see, they now, if you check out some of the shows on YouTube, and they don't be meaning because they do it out of ignorance, but when they be saying FBA now, and FBA to them, some of our brothers from the continent, like the twins hang out. I love those two sisters. When they say FBA, they talking about all Black people. You know what I'm saying? A FBA brother. You know what I'm saying? They talk about all Black people in America. You know, they associate FBA with all us. And see, that's what I wanted to realize that, like the song said, FBA is a cult. That ain't no people. That's not us. That's a cult. That's a group of Negroes. But you know, they is growing. They growing in influence, man. I'm hearing this shit more and more, man. And you know, I mean, I be on other shows, man, getting into it with some of these Negroes, man. But and you know, it be kind of tiring my mind out sometimes. But yeah, man, you know, My only thing is don't associate that with all African people, black people in America. As long as we keep that in mind like that, that it ain't all us. That's just a tiny minority. Even though they got a big mouth, they run their mouth a lot. Say that ain't all us. And, that's my main thing. I just don't want that to be the picture of black people in this country. Black people in America, descendants of enslaved Africans. That's what I don't want, man. And I leave it at that, man. But I like the video, man. The video was cool. I like the song, though, man. And I'll leave it at that.
You see, Anthony, first of all, let me just say I appreciate what you had to say just now. And also, let me echo Trigger Happy sentiments. Congrats to your brother. As Trigger Happy says here, black inter-ethnic marriage is always the way. So I echo those sentiments. Congrats to your brother and to yourself, because now you have a Caribbean person in the family if you didn't have before. But one of the reasons why I know I'm biased, why I like Shoot the Breeze, and why I even like when some of these FBA conversations come up. Whether you might be tired of the FBA and ADOS conversations, I get that too. But you see, in your response and in Brother Bakari's response, you guys give the sobering reminder, and Cheryl mentioned in the chat as well, that not every Black American or African in America is an FBA. That's its own separate thing. So I would like for anyone who's listening, who cares about what's being talked about, if you're from the continent, from the Caribbean, South America, etc., do not consider all Africans in America FBA and ADOS. That's not the case. It's a cult, as the song suggests. It's a group. But the thing that we have to be sober about as well is that some of that stuff is coming into the real world now. And what that could mean for the relations between the Caribbean, Africa, and other parts of the African world with Africans in America, that could be a problem if this thing continues to get out of hand. So I just want to say that part. With that said, let me hear from Black Steel on this. Black Steel would say.
All right, so y'all gonna forgive me a moment because I've been drinking, so I want to compile my thoughts. Right, I don't agree that FBA is a cult. What I would say FBA is, it's a psyop, right? It's a psychological operation. What is a psychological operation? It's a type of military information support operation focused on influencing the emotions, motives, objective reason, and behavior of foreign audiences to achieve U.S. national objectives, right? So, with that said, who benefits from African people dividing themselves, as the FBA people say, delineation? Who benefits from that? Growing up, everybody who knows me knows I'm big in the comic books, right? So when Batman's solving the case, the first question he asks is, who benefits from this crime? Who benefits? And then you have your motive, then you have the person behind it. Who benefits from for African Americans and Africans in the diaspora being at odds with one another, right? And I think when we ask that question, we start to understand why FBA exists and why they're so persistent, right? Because first of all, a couple things. There was a study recently that said that almost half, 50% of the accounts online are bots. So most of the people you're talking to online are not an actual human person behind it, right? So when you run into these FBA accounts, these accounts or these people online that are spewing this nonsense, right? First, we're the ancient Egyptians. Then we're the Moors. Now we're the real Native Americans. Egypt was really in Africa. All this other nonsense, right? And these African people don't like us, and we have to delineate, and we have to get our reparations. I'm sorry to tell y'all, Black people, in the age of Donald J. Trump, you ain't getting no reparations. I don't care if you were to take every non-Black American and send them to the moon, you're not getting any reparations. Okay, reparations only come from a position of strength. All right. You're not going to go to the white people who literally used to burn Black people alive for fun, right? You're not going to appeal to the better angels of their nature. You're just not going to do it. You know, white people, you treated us so badly. Would you kindly pay us back? No, right? And Black people with who exist in the continental United States are not in a position of strength. We are in a nation. We are a nation within a nation. Somebody online said that Black people were, in essence, a stateless people. Black people in America are a stateless people. We are, as Kwame Ture said, we are an internal colony, right? So we are at the mercy of the white majority as African Americans. So we're not in a position to ask for reparations because we're not going to get anything. But what the white majority, what Europeans, what pan-European has always feared is Africans connecting with one another. Africans in America, Africans in Latin America and South America, Africans in the continent, organizing and uniting in a shared struggle. That has been their biggest fear. That's the reason why Haiti has been ostracized to the way it is. Haiti, being the first Black republic, was a bastion of support and a force to be reckoned with. It was the fear was that the Haitian Revolution could spread not only to the other colonies, Africans in the Caribbean, but even make it to America. That's why Thomas Jefferson and all these other crackers were so terrified of it. They didn't recognize Haiti as a country until almost 60 years after the revolution happened. So the idea that African people can internationalize their struggle, that has been their biggest fear. That we could make our struggle and make it not an American problem, but making it a global African problem, right? There's brother Dr. Gerald Horn. He talks about in his book, The Apocalypse of Settler Colonialism, that the fear that many slave owners had, that their slaves would be in communication with Spanish Florida, during the colonial period, right? They would be in communication with the British or the French and get weapons and training, right? The fear that they had with Garvey reaching out across and trying to create, the Black Star Line and other things. This is their fear, is that Black people organizing and working to combat white supremacy. This is the white global domination. This is the problem. So how do they combat the problem? They combat the problem by dividing us. White people have always been very skilled at dividing and conquering. That is something they're very, very good at, right? So they divide you upon petty things. Now you have Black men and Black women, Black heterosexuals and Black gay people. You have the Black Americans and Black immigrants, right? But what happens is that as they're able to divide and conquer, right, they can take out each individual group at a piece at a time. They're very good at that. They did it on the continent. They're doing it to us too. So I don't agree with FBA as a cult. Now I do believe it is a danger. And when you go outside and you touch grass, again, when you go out and you're intermingling amongst the people, most Black people don't really know about no FBA. But every now and then you hear somebody talk about, oh, these immigrants, they're doing this, they're taking from us. I had a friend of mine, talking about how, immigrants are driving up the price of the apartments. I've never had a job. I've never had an immigrant, Black, Mexican, or otherwise, take a job from me or take an apartment from me. But what's happening is that we are coming into a crisis, right? We are in what they call a late stage capitalist collapse. The capitalists cannot extract any more wealth from the people, right? But in order for them to continue to try to extract wealth, people are starting to get upset and they're getting angry. But what you do is you, instead of focusing on the real source of the problem, you're going to focus it on, it's not this rich motherfucker stealing your shit. It's really these immigrants. If you're black, oh, the fact that you have such, you're poor, you can't get ahead, you're struggling, your health is terrible. It's those Nigerians you got to worry about. It's the Jamaicans you got to worry about. They make fun of your culture. They're saying they started hip hop, right? Which is a ridiculous thing, because who controls hip hop? You worry about who started hip hop. Who controls hip hop? It ain't the Jamaicans. It ain't the Nigerians. It's the Jews. And I hate to say it's the Jews, but it's the Jews, right? But yeah, I do agree that it is a distraction, and I do get tired of hearing about it. But I also understand that the method that is used, it is a divide and conquer. It is a psyop. It is propaganda. And what bothers me, not so much that it exists, I expect the enemy to attack us, right? There's a saying from soldiers back in World War II: when you're receiving flak, that means you're above the target. When you're receiving when you're receiving fire from the enemy, that means you're close by where you need to be at. But what bothers me is that it's such obvious propaganda. It's not even good propaganda. It's not something that I can't believe they did that, right? It's like, really? Y'all still falling for the same old bullshit again? So with that, I'll go ahead and I'll give them my thank you, everybody.
No, that was good stuff, Black Steel. Black Steel, what are you drinking tonight?
Somebody brought me some Jamaican rum. We were playing cards earlier, so I have to look at the bottle if I can read it, because I'm kind of fucked up right now. But somebody was afraid to buy it.
Is
My
it
girls
good?
over here, we were all hanging. It was delicious. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. I'm fucked
It's
up right
Ray
now. Hold on. Let me see what it says.
Wonderful.
Is it Ray and Nephew?
If it's clear white, it's probably Ray and Nephew.
Yeah, it's probably Ray and Nephew.
That's that white rum. That will mess you up.
It says it's Appleton. It says it's Appleton Estate.
Oh yeah, well Appleton will mess you up too. That'll mess you up
single
too.
estate
So,
Jamaican rum.
Yeah, good luck. I had that last week. I know. Anthony is on. I think that Quavo right now as well. So you all sit back and relax while you're doing it. Now, I left Kofi last for a reason. Kofi, you've seen everything everyone else had to say. By the way, Cheryl says she wants some of what y'all drinking on, okay? But you've seen everything everyone else had to say, man. What say you to all of it?
What Bakari said and Anthony said and Black said, what everyone said was so on point. I love when Brother Bakari said there's a difference between a Black American and an African American and what their goal is in America. And I was going to say FBA is a psyop, but I also call it a cult. It could be a cultist psyop. And the thing about it, FBA, is that these people were always here. They were always here, right? Because in the system, in the American system, from plantation to Reconstruction to Jim Crow to civil rights, and the power structure being white supremacy, you're always going to have someone that's going to be that person to sell out Garvey. You're always going to have that house nigga. You're always going to have a house nigga in this power, in this power dynamic, where for him to get on top, he'll sell other people out. It's human nature, but for us, it's been more detrimental to us. So when I say they've always been here, you know what I'm saying? We always call them house niggas, right? But when you look and you study sociology and look at human nature and you combine that with what's been going on in this country, it was basically inevitable. When you see, and I'm pretty sure you guys saw that. I think Anthony and Brother Bakari was on my channel one time where you had, it was during the 60s where one of the migrations from out the South, you had black people from the South that went to California and they established themselves and they had their own kin, their own brethren, their own cousins saying, oh my gosh, these guys coming with their carpet bags, saying all these racist fucking shit about their own people, saying that they're not intelligent, maybe when they rise above their origins, and like, what the fuck? Like what? You know what I'm saying? Because but the thing, when you look at that video, it's like, well, one of the guys says, see, we escaped from being a Negro, right? To come out here, right? The black man has his profession of being a dentist, a psychiatrist, a doctor, and we ran away, escaped from being a Negro. So what he's initially saying is that we have made it among the white society and elites, you know, they're bougie. And even one of the women said, well, I don't need to sound like a snob, but she said, well, yes, I guess I do sound like a snob. And they're finally made it, and they want to get away from the spectrum of being a Negro. Why? Because their own kin, their own brethren that came, they're coming here with their carpet bags, and I have to look at what the fuck a carpet bag was. Basically, it's a bag that's shaped like a carpet. You know, the design's like a carpet. You know, something that they just had back in those days, right? And he was just dehumanizing them. I'm like, what? For what? For what? Because they have made it, and they don't want these other people coming, which is their own kin. So FBA is the same way, but it's just easier to point out the person that may have an accent. Oh, he's black like me, but he has an accent. Oh, where he's from? Oh, he's not from here. So it's easy to demonize that person. This country has always demonized the new people coming in, whether they be white, whether they be Hispanic, whether they be black. They always do that. So psychologically, socially speaking, FBA is doing the same exact thing. The thing I don't like about it, that it is a cult. Look, I've seen FBA rise up because, again, for those of you who may know me, I used to listen to Tariq Nasheed before he grifted to get off the Pan African grip and started the whole FBA thing. And moment he started talking all this crazy stuff about Africans and Caribbeans, I stopped. So this whole, for like a good 2-3 years, he was throwing rocks at Africans, throwing rocks at Caribbeans. We didn't say nothing. We didn't say, this is one, I'm not even going to front. This is one of the reasons why I started my channel. Because I'm like, this guy's just telling blatant lies, right? And when Africans and Caribbeans wanted to clap back, all of a sudden, I don't know when these dudes started saying, well, I'm FBA now. They have this, well, oh, we started it. I asked them this one question. What, since you're saying Africans hate you and Caribbeans hate you, what name did Africans and Caribbeans come under? What banner did we come under as a collective that make fun of Black Americans? Shut the fuck up, Tether. You a Tether. Hey, go to Mud Hut. These are very unintelligent, uninformative people, right? Like one of the guys that was on my channel, they're suffering from HNS, house nigga syndrome. Or they call it house Negro supremacists. Use it however you want, because they're under this ideology. It was a very right-wing ideology that you're here to take something from me. When, sorry to tell you, people coming into America, unfortunately, is not looking to take anything away from Black people, because Black people are not giving anything. That's the part I don't understand. What? And I asked them, oh, well, you're getting these scholarships that's supposed to meant for us. I'm like, okay, what's the scholarship? And a lot of people from the Caribbean, Africa, shit, let me know, because they owe me. The government owes me money. They have this white ideology of, they take on the white man's ideology of what immigrant is. But one thing they'll never ever do is, and I think someone mentioned it before, I think it was Brother Bakari, they will never take the same energy against white people. That's why I agree it's a psyop. And that's why I'm saying it's a cult, because everything Tariq Nasheed says, they say verbatim. Verbatim. I have debated these people. I have spoken to these people. Everything Tariq Nasheed says, they say verbatim. That's why it is a cult. And every time you challenge them on it, they end up calling you names. They can never have a good faith argument. It's all about feeling good. Is, you know what, I'm gonna get my frustrations out. You know what I'm saying? When I'm frustrated, you know what I'm saying, I may play video games, I may ride my bike, I may, you know what I'm saying, write something, or you know what I'm saying, I may do something. This is how they take the frustration out, because when you want to have a real historical good faith argument, they don't, it's just name calling. And that's why I call them, you know what I'm saying, they're just black white supremacists. That's all it is. So it is something that we have to take seriously. We cannot put it like this. If they were, look, me, I got no friends, well, besides you brothers. I really don't got no friends in the YouTube world, because I'm fighting FBA, aka African Americans. I'm fighting the Africans that's kissing Donald Trump's ass. You know what I'm saying? And then everybody else in between. Because my thing, like, everyone is about my age. I'm just trying to, and maybe it's where I grew, where we grew up. Growing up in New York, being in Miami, whatever, you always have black people, as far as Caribbeans, Africans, just all together chilling. Yeah, me growing up in Queens, I grew up in Queens, New York. I had Chinese friends, Filipino friends, white friends, Jamaican friends, American, Haitian, Trinidadian. We used to make fun of each other. Make fun of each other. My American friend will, oh, okay, curry goat, okay, on cornbread, and at the lunch table, people, my friends used to walk by, no matter if it was black or American, and they'll see a white person say, "Why you like chicken so much?" And then they're like, "What the fuck he said?" And they're ready to fight. But it was just jokes, right? But that's what I'm used to. When I hear these people say these things, I understand it's probably coming from a place of hurt. Look, black Americans, black people all over the world, but especially black Americans, understand. That's why Tariq Nasheed is a very easy manipulator. He's taking your pain and your hurt and the neglect that the government and this country has neglected you, and turned that into, yeah, it's those immigrants though. They're the ones, because they look like us. And yes, they had this Nigerian woman that ran for office and said that we need to get rid of Black History Month. So if she feels like that, that's their culture. So that means all of them want to get rid of Black History Month. And this is the narrative that they go with. You know what I'm saying? So there is, look, when you pledge allegiance to, if anyone is in the army or whatever, you're supposed to protect your nation for enemies, foreign and domestic. That should be the Pan-African anthem as well. We should protect for enemies, foreign or domestic. Right now, FBA is a domestic enemy. And I pretty much end it right there, but it's something that we do have to really take serious, for it'll grow like a cancer.
Appreciate that, Kofi. Just want to remind Kofi and everyone that FBA ADOS are Black equals African Americans, but all Black equals African Americans are not FBA ADOS, right? But what Kofi said about them being puppets and repeating what their leader says, that's absolutely true. You can tell what their comeback is going to be if you've ever heard him talk. But before we move on to Shoot the Breeze topic number 4 tonight, I just want to ask the chat as well as the panel, what would you rate the song that we listened to? Out of 5 stars, how many stars would you give it? Anyone can answer in any order.
Yeah, I forgot to comment on the song. I like the song. I love the song, but my antennas went up when it's talking about the whole mulatto thing. It's just like, but I like the song. I like the spirit, but it sounds like they had an axe to grind as them being a mulatto. But I think the first guy that spoke on it is like, okay, you're speaking as a African American, you're speaking as an African, speaking as a Caribbean, like, yeah, like, where you're coming from. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to know that, but I like what they're saying is totally on point. And when you listen to the lyrics, again, like I said before, they take on a lot of white supremacist talking points, Black Americans or FBAs that say that it sound like white supremacists. The same thing they used to tell Black Americans. They taking those same talking points and pretty much, putting it on us. So it's like Black Steel says, it's just so obviously racist. That's why most of them hide their faces. So I think that's why he's right. Most of them are bots. But I'll give this like a solid 8.
All right. It seems like no one else wants to. I guess Anthony said it's a 4 out of 5, which is about
I'm
an
say
8.
5 stars. I give it a 5. I give it a
Sorry.
5 because they talk. I give it a 5 because they talking about FBA.
All right. Real Black gentleman.
I started it off. I can't do it with. Look, for real. It's just like, it's one of those things. It's like the axe comes into the forest and the trees say, "Look, it's one of us." Like, come on, man. It's like, she's not Black. She's someone, an outsider. Like, invoke. And see, it's just the fact. Well, he's there with. No, I can't do it. Look, I don't care how people, whatever it is, it becomes a vexation on me as a Black person in this country. I don't care if it's FBI or whatnot. I just don't know. You know what I'm saying? I can't do it. And it's just like conflicting identity. So it's like, I can't put no shine on this.
Let me ask you a question. So you're saying a mulatto can't be pro-Black? Is that what you're saying?
Man, it doesn't matter, but she can't be in the circle, yo. You trying to put her in the middle of the circle? It's straight like that. I said what I said, man.
Okay.
I don't know. The song, carrying emotions away from people and stuff. I don't know what, I'm saying? Conflicting identities, yo. Like, you know what I'm saying? She out here majoring in minors. Like, it's like, yo, I said what I said. The axe comes into the forest and the trees say, "Look, it's one of us." Yo, let me be quiet, man. Let me be quiet.
I'm saying no. I like that, but I'm just saying if with that particular vetting process, a lot of Black greats you will have to, like your Arthur Schomburgs, your John D. Jackson.
I guess I would say. Look, if you, I'll say it like this. Look, if you are half and half, that's the situation between you, God, and the people. So, I know, Du Bois was, what I'm saying? A lot of people love Du Bois. We can go on this for days. They sent in the mulattoes against the Congo in the 1300s, yo. I'm just saying, yo, history, yo, I say what I say. Can I say it? I'm just saying. So angry mulatto, like, again, yo, like, I'm not feeling the vibe. I'm not. Yo, I don't have to belabor what I'm saying, but like, listen, yo, like, bruh.
You know what I think is going to be an interesting conversation, interesting topic one day? Because I understand exactly what RBG is saying. But on the flip side of that, do mulattoes have a voice? They are half Black. Do we completely just shut them down? Do they have a voice? And my thing about this be angry biracial. I don't see, once again, like I said earlier, I don't see how FBA is against them. When the guy who started FBA wife is a mulatto herself. So how can they be against them? But I do think that's something we're going to have to touch. Do mulattoes have a voice? Because I understand what majority of mulattoes did, and I understand the reasoning. The people that did the enslaving, starting with the Arabs, because see, I don't skip them to go straight to white folks. Starting with the Arabs that created mulattoes, I understand their reasoning behind it, and I understand how they used their offspring that they truly didn't care about to attack us. But then what about the few mulattoes that did stand with us. I don't call them black. I call them what they are. They are biracial. They're half black and half whatever else. But do they have a voice? I'm just wondering, do they have a say-so? Do they have to just be completely shut down because they have one non-black parent? Or do their experience, or should their experience be heard? Because especially over here in this country, since we always go to the white folks, especially over here in this country, these people created mulattoes, then created a one-drop rule so they could enslave their own family. So should they just be completely shut down? I understand what RGB is saying, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with him, but I'm just asking: should they be completely shut down?
Again, I would disagree with that because a lot of our grace. Because look, it's about your worth. See, if you're a mulatto person, what we should do, look at their actions. There's like when I did my show, I did my video about the Civil War. I learned a lot, especially with the women that contributed to the Civil War. There was a woman that was white passing, and she made believe she was a Union soldier in order to fight. She could have easily set her mulatto ass and just see shit play out and be a white woman, right? So she shouldn't. You're just gonna throw her away? That's crazy. It's your actions. I know a lot of mulatto people that are white passing, or they can just use their white card, and they don't. They put their career, they put their life on the line. Is what the works that you put in. Like, yes, the vetting process should be higher for people like that, right? Because if you understand African history from the continent to here, they use those people. But so I wouldn't necessarily throw them away. It's pretty much show and proof. For all black people, it's show and proof. You know what I'm saying? So to necessarily throw them away just because of that, I don't know. You know, that's like throwing away the baby with the bathwater.
I like what KW7 said in the chat. He says they have a voice in the back of the room. With that said,
I like that one.
I think we have tackled this topic before, because Yvette Carnell, who's the head of ADOS, is whatever she is, and she's a leading voice in that movement, etc.
Both of her parents black. They say both of her parents black. I don't mean to cut you off. They say both of her parents are black.
Oh, they say one of her parents is white. Her girlfriend is white. I know that, but they say one of her parents is white.
Yeah, her girlfriend is white. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if anyone remembers to make a post about it, drop it on the Discord. If you're not on the Discord, the link is in the description. Join the Discord today. Navigate your way to Shoot the Breeze topics and post your topics. And just post Shoot the Breeze topics there for me. Please post a prompt and a video or a tweet or something. If it's a long video, post the timestamps so that we know what area to look at. And make sure the video is not longer than 10 minutes or so. With that said, man, great. In fact, great conversation. I thought the song was a solid 4.5 out of 5. But let's go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 4 tonight. Probably the last topic tonight, because I do want to end at about 11 if possible. Shoot the Breeze topic number 4 says, African naming system as explained by the Akan perspective. So if you remember last week, we had this discussion from the Yoruba perspective, and I was bringing up some things I thought I knew about naming systems in West Africa, but really it probably was just in the Akan space about naming of children and stuff like that. So we'll watch this video and then we'll discuss what's in the name.
Why it was easier for Bruce Jenner to change his gender than it was for Cassius Clay to change his fuck.
Welcome to Powered by Ancestry. I'm your guide and host, Kwesi Kunadu. On this episode, our focus would be names and ancestry. A number of you had reached out and said they wanted to see an episode of names, so here you are. Names, of course, are deeply important. Name mark out the kind of person that you are and will be. It also marks out the path that you have in life. Names also say something about not simply who you are and what you are, but how you will be. Now, names should not be taken lightly, and the process of naming equally should not be taken lightly. Yes, there's some of us who have desires to make up names, but I want to caution you about the urge to do so. And I'm going to do so by laying out for you a naming system that has deep implications and deep meaning for ancestry and for being humans and living out a meaningful human experience. My people have a naming system. This is the Akan naming system. And this naming system is based on a 8-day calendar week. However, the first day is counted. So for instance, I'm born on a Sunday, and so my name is Kwesi. If I was a female, my name would be Akosua or Esi. Now, the day in which I'm born, that Sunday, is counted twice. So one would count Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 days, also known as Nauchi. And in that 8 days, those names that are assigned to male or female boys and girls, they have deep resonance and meaning. And so this is how the naming process works. There is a naming ceremony called Adinto, literally means to throw a name. But my people, they wait 8 days, again, that week, before they name a child. So when a child is born, a child has a waiting period. They're known as a stranger in the community and in their family. The mother and child are secluded from the rest of the family during this waiting period. Why the waiting period? A number of reasons. You see, my folks cosmologically hold that each of us have a spiritual mother and a biological mother. And it's sort of a tug of war between the two about who will claim the child. Remember, we are spirit encapsulated, or spirit having human experience. And so it makes sense to have a spiritual mother. And so having a spiritual mother is simply a negotiation. During conception, that 9-month waiting period after conception, there's a negotiating going on between convincing the spiritual mother to let go of the spirit child that will be grow into or born into you or me. And so once we're born, there's an 8-day waiting period to ensure that the spiritual mother doesn't change her mind, does not take the child back. In scientific parlance, we refer to that as SID, sudden infant death syndrome. Some children come out of the womb, look around and see chaos or see something that they don't like and said, hey, I'm going back. I'll wait my turn in the queue. Because of that waiting period, the child is named on the 8th day. And on that 8th day, families are gathered, typically early in the morning, to welcome this new arrival, this new addition. And at that point, the child is named. And in the naming process, which I'll spare you the details. In fact, if you want more information, I've written about this in articles and in books, so you can check out those books on my website, kwesikunadu.info. The child is named, and that name is given by an elder of high character and some stature. Who gives the name is important, because the name giver will have consulted with a spiritualist or healer to ensure that the name follows the pathways of the family in which the child is born. You see, children have more agency than we give them and more credit than we give them. They choose which family to be born into. But that I mean that those spirit children decide when and to whom to come. And so parents, you have to be not only overjoyed, but honored that a child chose you to come into the world. Children are not simply blessings, as in the casual Twitter-like feed, oh, I love my child because he or she's a blessing. That may be true, and it should be true. But a child chooses you, it chooses me as a parent. And that means that child has places on us a responsibility, a burden, if you will, to ensure that they accomplish their destiny, their purpose in life. That's why they chose you. That's why they chose your particular family at the time in which they were born. And the name says something about that. And so, using myself as an example, when I was named Kwesi, it said that I was born on a Sunday, but it said more. It said that my spirit came to this earth on a Sunday, a particular Sunday called Mono Kwesi, meaning a fresh or new Sunday. That gives me more, or my parents and my community, more details about the kind of Sunday born person that I am. I was born in the late afternoon or early evening. which mean I have a certain temperament. Those clues said something about my human beingness that's tucked away in my name. My name, Kwesi, also points to the spiritual force that governs that day. And those spiritual forces, of course, have a relational impact on my human experience. So I need to know that spiritual force intimately, personally, practically. My community, my family, their job is to safeguard that relationship and to safeguard my destiny and purpose. All that is packaged into my name. I haven't even gotten to the second name or the family name. But in that first name alone, all those data points are deeply important and crucial to ensure that my family community has the guideposts, has the guidelines to ensure that I accomplish what I came to this world to do. And the names, therefore, are the matrices, the kernel that packages all these details and information. My name also says on what day of the Akan calendar I should do certain rituals to remember my destiny, my purpose in life. So every 42 days on the Akan calendar, I do this ritual. Dress in white, abstain from intercourse as an adult. I abstain from meats. Well, I don't eat meats anyway, but if you do, that's wise to do so. I abstain from any heavy kinds of food or heavy burdens of thought or emotional strains. And I go to a sacred river or body of water. It could be a lake, a creek, or the ocean. And I sit there and meditate on my purpose in life within nature. And I do this every 42 days. This act of remembrance is about recall from that conversation that I had with my creative force in my mother's womb, when I had to de-link from my spiritual mother and come to my biological mother, who would care for me in the human physical world. But I'm always connected to my spiritual mother. And having two mothers on both sides is what makes us whole human beings. The name also indicates what kinds of rituals should occur at what time on the calendar to ensure that I not only remember, but I live out that memory. I live out that code. I live out that destiny and the purpose in life. There are greetings between myself and other people born on Sundays that are packaged into my name. There are taboos. Certain animals I should never harm or kill, I should protect, because the spirit of those animals, they ride with me and protect me. These webs of connection that are all tucked away in my name, once you open that package, it allows for an unfolding of this meaningful purpose of life. It gives you guidance and direction. And so names should not be played with, not be toyed with. They should be invented. They should be meaningful. They should mark out precisely whom the child is, the nature of the child, and the kind of purpose and person that child will grow into. You see, I don't hold that people, I hold that people simply grow into who they are. And that grow into who you are, if you follow or accept that argument, is tucked away in the name. So when a child is called a name that is fictive or inventive or made up in a spot or made up in a moment of confusion or crisis, we do disservice and harm to that child because we're denying them, we are making inaccessible their meaningful lives and purposes with a fictitious or inventive or cute name. Naming your child after a pair of jeans or a car or an object does more damage than you can ever consider. Now, am I suggesting what you should and should not do? No. I'm simply advising you about the importance of names that are baked in culture, that are baked in ancestry, and that will essentially be the calling card for who the person is. So whenever I hear Kwesi, I know precisely what I'm about and who I am. When I hear the name Kwesi, I hear my ancestry, because it's a call of resonance that ricochets against my deep ancestry, because they laid out what day I should be born on, what characteristics and tendencies that accompany that day that I should carry, and therefore what kind of human experience I should live out. Now, how should you decide on a name? There's a number of ways to do this. Some people use books. And of course, my focus in this series on Powered by Ancestry is people of African ancestry. So there are names, lots of books on African names, and that's really one source to do so. And there's nothing wrong with that. I suggest looking into ancestry. And here's a ritual you can do. It's a cultural ritual, so it does not conflict with your religious view if you have one. All you need is a clear glass filled with water, cold water preferably. And on a white sheet of paper, you write down precisely what your question or concern is. In this case, about your name. And you put it under that glass next to your nightstand where you sleep. And over 3 days, you will see something in your dream. It may not be clear, it may not be intelligible, or it might be. I can't say what it will be for you because that's between you and your ancestors. But what I will say is that that ritual device, that cultural device, will be an important tool for you to then tap into, to access, to ask the right questions with your ancestry so that they can provide you with the means and the insights you need. Because our relationship with ancestry is unique, as our families are, there's no one size fit all. But this ritual will fit all. But the ritual is simply a tool or a mechanism to get you to accessing ancestry. And once you do, then you enter or continue that journey where the clarity you need will come. And even though that ritual can be used for other purposes, I'll just focus right now on for names. You can use that ritual in concert with books of African names, in concert with names that perhaps may appear within your family's history, may appear within your family's folklore, stories and traditions. But that's my suggestion for how to go about the process of names through your ancestry. Again, because they know you, I mean the real you. Not how you look, not what you do, but who you really are. And therefore, they are best positioned to guide you in the process of names and namings. I've been Kwesi Kunadu, your host.
I echo sentiments of Kofi, who said, I'm loving this. I really did appreciate that presentation. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says, African culture truly is deep and rich. It's sad we have to put it on a back burner. No, we don't have to, but I get your meaning. I don't want people to think that you have to. We can really bring that forward to the front burner. Trigger says, remember when I said that even with the days of the week, circumstances matter? This is what I was talking about. It's very complex and flexible. He goes on to say, see how rituals and actions are attached to language and naming? How then can we purport you revitalize our languages without the culture tied to it and its rituals? He goes on to say, you can even think about it in the root of self-harm. How can someone truly understand their purpose in life when their name isn't even clear of the purpose they came with? I agree with that 100%. Lastly, he says, also, I can understand the ladies who are obsessed with astrology. They're basically explaining circumstances and the temperament of the day you were born. However, Greek's astrology is in ours. All well, all good and well. Comments from our brother Trigger Happy 262 Plus in the chat. Well, let me get to the panel now. Should we start topic number 4, African naming systems as explained by the Akan perspective? I'm going to start with Black Steel on this one. Black Steel would say.
I really enjoyed this, and a couple things he said made me think. So when he said that children choose to be born into your family, right? They chose us, and I think I remember a Dr. Stacy Patton was talking about how in African cultures, children are considered to be sacred, right? She's a big person. She also, talks a lot about child abuse and using corporal punishment for Black children, right? So it just makes me think how disconnected we become from our culture. In that, on one hand, children are sacred within African culture. They're considered to be divine. The ancestors returned to us. They chose us, and it's an honor to bring them into this world and raise them. But then you have European culture who says, if thou beatest the child with the rod, he shall not die, right? So then you have the high rates of child abuse within the African community, the African American community. I'm wondering if if we understood our culture more, would that reverse that? Will we start to see our children not so much as burdens, but as gifts and a promise for a future? And I think that's part of the issue that we have, is that we're so disconnected from who we're supposed to be. So I'll go ahead and I'll leave it there, and I'll follow along with some other people. Those are just my initial thoughts in this situation.
Yeah, good stuff. I think that ties in with the idea of, if a kid knew that their name meant the purposed one or something of that sort. You know, they live their life a little bit differently than just being named something like Davon. No offense to anyone named Davon if that's your name, but you know, what does it mean? What does it do for you? You know what I mean? But to have a name with purpose is something else. With that said, let me hear from Brother Bakari.
Hey, let somebody else go and I'll go after them.
All right, let me hear from let me hear from Anthony Phil.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that was a great prompt, man. And that brother there, I love that brother's content, man. Kwesi Conadu, you know, I follow him. He had I'm trying to remember the name of that book. He had a book out, man, that he had previewed it on the show. He would know what he was talking about. I think he was talking with Dr. Jerry Ball about the book. You know. I'm trying to see Black Steel might remember that book. Black Steel, you remember when him and Jared Ball had a debate about politics in Africa, where he was talking about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and Sekou Touré them?
I do, but I don't remember the name of the book, but I do remember the discussion we had. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, that brother, he real cool. He a Jamaican brother, man, and he into the Akan. It was a book about Akan cosmology and the spirituality. I just can't remember the name of it though. But yeah, that's a good brother, Kwesi, man. He's a sharp brother, man. I really like his work a lot. Okay, I've been doing a little bit studying about I did studying about the Akan spiritual system. You know, not as much as I need, so I need to do some more. But I've been doing a little bit. And what piqued my interest was back when I remember this brother, he died back in the 2000s. He's in New York City. The brother Nana Denny Zulu Apare. Koku, you remember him? They founded the Akan temple in New York City.
No, I don't remember him. No.
Yeah, Nana Denny Zulu Apare. But he's a leader of the Akan spiritual system followers in America. You know, it's some videos on YouTube where he went to West Africa, to Ghana, and like he was, you know, like basically ordained and everything by the elders there, man. You know, he went through a lot of years and years of spiritual training and everything. He's a big brother, man. And they have a dance troupe in New York City. It's an annual thing they have every year in New York. No, I just can't remember. It's a festival. It's a festival that they have every year, Coco, in New York. In a Akan festival.
It's an Akan festival specifically.
Yeah.
I can't think of it, but I know there's the Dance Africa stuff.
Yeah. It's close. That's their thing. They have it every year. It's an annual thing. That his son, them, and all of them. They over it now because he died. And he's associated with Dr. Kwame Okoto. You know, who wrote the book about nation building.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all associated together, man. You know, into the Akan thing, because in Kwame Okoto them in DC, they have an Akan temple there, I think the Temple of Inyame. You know, and sometimes they be on Facebook, you know, on Sundays and everything. But anyway, so I was just bringing up, trying to tie them together because, you know, I've been following a little bit of them. You know, I kind of slacked up a little while, man, because, you know, some family stuff. But what I wanted to say, okay, the Akan system, the Akan system is beautiful, man. I just scratched the surface. But from the things I know, like the naming ceremony and everything, and it's a beautiful thing, man. It's beautiful, man. And it's just, you can't, I don't even have enough time to talk about it, man. We may have to have a show on about this naming practice one day. But like the Akan system, and the Akans, and especially the Yoruba system, and the Igbos too. And I would also say the Shona people from Zimbabwe. You know, I've been doing a little research on them, and they have this beautiful way about the naming system for children and stuff, man. But what I was saying, Koku, I was gonna take you back down memory lane. You and Black Steel. Do you remember? I think it was back in like probably 2019. I think it was 219 when y'all was still doing the book club. Koku, you remember that sister who you brought on the show? Who was talking about the naming process? I can't remember her name. She was Nigerian, Nigerian, and y'all did like a 2-hour show, and she was talking about the naming process. I mean, the show's in your archives, man, because I think I looked at it about a couple of weeks ago.
Well, y'all was on now.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's 6 years, man. But I mean, it was you and Black Steel. Y'all was talking to her, and she was going through the whole naming process, and she was breaking down everything. Her name was like Wahida or something like that, if I'm mistaken. Wahida. I mean, is it coming to you?
Black Steel, do you remember?
I think her name was Wahida.
Bro, not tonight.
But it was Wahida, and she was talking about this. hey, I'm tipsy too. But she was talking about the naming ceremony and everything, and she was getting deep in it, Koku, in the Africa of the Gulf, because she had went to Africa. She had went to some part of it. She was talking about it, and y'all was breaking it down. You need to go back and look at that one, man, because y'all was talking about that.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about on. She used to be on Twitter a lot, but I think she's more
and Facebook.
Yeah, she's more on Instagram now. Sister Wahida, yeah. She was on Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, out of Philadelphia. Because she was with Afro Central International, Malefica Center and them thing.
Right, that's right. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so I ain't gonna go on no further though, man. That's all. I'd knock off and let somebody else get to it, man. But yeah.
Yeah, thanks for jogging my memory on it. It's been such a while since I had that conversation with her. I forgot the contents. I think she was talking about Malefe's organization mostly, but I forgot about the naming system stuff that she would have spoken about. So thanks for reminding me. I'll go back and listen to that too, because I have a playlist for great interviews that I did, and she was one of them for sure. Cheryl in the chat said, I know Wahida. So Sister Cheryl, tell us your thoughts on the video, and you can talk about Wahida as well.
Yeah, so I think it's like it's a beautiful thing. It's very powerful. My husband and I, we did our naming ceremonies, and we later got our names legally changed to the Akan names that we chose. And we also did a naming ceremony for our son. So yeah, it's just a very powerful thing, and it just makes me think about like how you'll have Black people and you'll have African people, not just in the Akan tradition, but just on the continent in general. They'll have um their names given to them, their African names, and then they'll have I guess their Christian name or whatever, their Muslim name. And to me, it's just like it defeats the whole purpose, So I mean, same thing on the American side, we'll we'll put a lot on names I don't know, I'm not sure of an example of a strong name that like Black Americans use. It's usually like a biblical name. So like we'll use that, and then when we're questioned about it, not forcefully, but when we're questioned about it, we're just kind of like, well, this is a strong name, and I could never get rid of this name. So I feel like it just speaks to the how in depth the religion thing is on us, is that we will put those biblical names before our you know our traditional names, and then just it's all backwards, like for instance, my last name is Ezekiel. It's an Old Testament name. So and my dad, he was livid, when I told him I was changing my whole name. He's kind of upset about that, but something that needed to happen. But it's just some people, they're never really going to understand, like the intricacies of, like, even what this guy is talking about. They're never gonna really get there because we're so attached to the religious names. Even if we're not religious, we're still attached to those things. So I think what he's talking about needs to really be, um, I guess, communicated to the larger diaspora out there.
Appreciate that, Sister Cheryl. Let me hear from Kofi. Is Kofi still with us? Let me hear from Kofi on this one.
Yeah, I thought that was very, very, very beautiful. Especially that with that whole naming ceremony. One thing that that two things that came to mind growing up, and I hear my mother and my grandmother say. So my backstory, again, like I think I mentioned it before, that I am the first, nephew, first first great grand, all of that, right? I have a large family, right? My mother tried to get pregnant with me several times. She had miscarriages, so I'm saying it to say, they say the day my mother, was pregnant with me, and I was born. My grandmother's just speaking, oh my gosh, it was such a joyous day. Oh, God bless your mother and your family, yada yada yada. So, and even after I was born, and you mess up, you do something, and I'm 6'4". My grandmother's like 5'3", and my parents are tall, right? And my grandmother would make you feel so small. She would like, how dare you do that? She doesn't scream. My grandma never screams. She just makes you feel bad. And she says, my grandma say, I make 9 children, not one of them talk to me like how you talk to your mother. So, and I'm like, but, and I'm giving my grandma excuses, and she'll tell me the things that my mother went through to get pregnant, and this, that, and she put this burden on me. I'm like, oh God, okay, all right, okay, I get it. It make me feel so bad. But in this naming tradition, he's saying like the child chooses the parent. So it's like it's well, from my Caribbean perspective, Black perspective, Christian perspective, it's like, no, the parents choose you, because parents like, hey, I brought you. We know the whole famous Bill Cosby thing. Peace out to Malcolm and Jamal Warner. Saying, he said, I brought you in this world, I'll take you out. That's a famous thing, and my mother used to tell me that all the time. So, but in the Akan tradition, it seems like, a child is a gift. I was a gift, but it's more seemed that the parents is giving the child the gift, other than the child choosing you, and and the parents be blessed that child has chosen them. So that's one thing that is like, wow, the dynamic is just so different. And another thing that I love and I appreciate, because it's an African centered way of spirituality, is that two mothers. You have your earthly mother and you have your spiritual mother. I didn't hear anything about the father. You know what I'm saying? I didn't hear anything about the father. And rightfully so, in a way, because when you look at nature, you understand nature. Animism. Animism is the study of nature. And they say that's where religion comes from. You want to see how everything was created, where the creator comes from. You look at your natural surroundings, you look at nature. So once you understand nature, you kind of peep into the eyes of God, right? Going back to the other prompt we did, we're talking about religion, right? And everything comes from the aspect of the mother. The father is supposed to be the supporting system. So in our religion, even though he talked to Christians and Muslims, oh no, there's no misogyny. They're in denial. There's no misogyny in Christianity, and God is love, yada yada. Okay, but why are we always calling him a father? You can't be a father without a mother. What's going on? Is God gay? Is Jesus gay? You know what I'm saying? Is he a single parent? Like, what's going on? Where's his consort? Well, it's a figure of speech. Well, no, I don't think it's a figure of speech. You know what I'm saying? Because we say many a times, "Oh, Father God," we say the Lord's Prayer, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." He is a father figure. So when you get the crazy Hebrew Israelites and saying like, "Yeah, you are," or this is pretty much Jewish, the Jewish way, they say, if a Jewish man, let's say, marries a Hindi woman, right? And he have a son or a daughter, that child is still considered Jewish because you are from your father's seed. You are from your father's seed. I'm like, wait, did he give birth to you? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But the religion is misogynistic. That's why it's like, again, going back to the prompt. Oh man.
Hey, we lost?
Yeah, sound like Kofi caught off there, right?
Hey, Coco, could I just say something real briefly?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say that, an answer for Kofi. Like in the African spiritualism, in many African spiritualisms, I'm the ones that I know about, like in Akan, in Yoruba, what I'm saying, in Voodoo, from the phone people of Benin, that they have African, when you become a devotee, that you have you have a spiritual father and mother, as well as your natural mother, your parents, you have spiritual parents too, fathers and mothers in the spiritual systems.
So I guess Kwesi just didn't mention him in his talk here, right, Anthony?
Yeah, probably so. But I know among the people I've been around, they have both spiritual parents, because you have a Babylel, you have the spiritual leader, and the male spiritual leader and female spiritual leaders too.
Right. Okay. I guess Kofi fell off. Hopefully he'll come back. In the meantime, let me hear from Real Black Gentleman. Real Black Gentleman, what's you?
I think it's very it builds character in a way that I think is lost. I mean, the names, a lot of names, English names or what have you, biblical names, what have you. I mean, you can understand what the meaning behind them are, but yet and still, because of the fact that a lot of those names take place in the context outside of us, it does make it move. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least if you give yourself a name that you can refer to, and it's from your own people, from the stock, from the cultural stock, from the cultural supplies, the cultural nuts and bolts. You can use that to your advantage. You can always look at yourself and the vibrations that correlate to the description of who you are, to what I'm saying. You can always do that. I would say if we can use this to inspire people to shake off, colonialism, you know what I'm saying? I think you can use it as a tool. If you name your son, you know what I'm saying, get this white man off your back, you know what I'm saying? In other words, you can do it. I think that it becomes important, when we're talking about this particular tradition, I just would want to make sure that, as much as, what I'm saying, you do want to make sure that the kids or children are, how would I say it? I just don't want it. I in spite of, you don't want it to be a how would I say it? An escape from what is going on. I don't want to see someone give me a name, a lofty name, in the midst of, what I'm saying, what's going on, and what I'm saying is there's, that's just, it's a lot of things in my head that I'm trying to sort through. I know that you want to be able to you definitely want to, but as we do so, let's not use the name. You gotta have hope, but at the same time, having names of character, whatever those names are, like, I think would lead more towards an outcome that is beneficial of our people. I would say like names, knowing what day that you're on and like the conditions of what surrounds you. I know that that's important, but I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, if I can be honest, I mean, it crosses my mind, I'm trying to have balance in what I'm saying, not to be dismissive in an absolute sense. When I hear what he's saying, it's like, you know, named after a day of the week. It's like I get it, but can we name ourselves after the hopes and dreams of our people a little bit more instead of like what the trees look like outside? You know what I'm saying? I don't want our people to have a utopian sense without knowing how we're going to have to go through to do it. And if it means naming a lot of people kind of the same name, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, that's just what I'm saying. It's like, name yourself. If you got to, you know, I don't know African, you know, languages at all, really. So I'm all I can do is attempt to transliterate what I'm trying to say. It's just like, you want to name your children, like, you know, things that, you know, really can let them know that, you know, that the family will be there to make. I'm speaking from like a young man's perspective, like that we can go out here and have purpose in that what we're doing, that we can really that we're truly like, you know, keeping stock of our people and how we can move ahead and if necessary, get bounce back from a lesser position. I'm gonna pass the mic.
Yeah, no, RBG, I actually understand fully what you're talking about. I guess if I'm understanding correctly, actually, I'm guessing what you're saying is here in the West, like in the U.S., let's not be so enthralled with the lofty. I forgot who I saw talking about it on Twitter recently who was saying, let's be real about it. We weren't all kings and queens in Africa. We were maids and farmers and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So let's not go that route of giving ourselves these kingly and queenly type names. Let's actually name ourselves something rooted in the struggle that we're facing right now. And that will give the purpose to a child, for example, who's understanding their name and their place in the whole thing. Their name tells them what who you are and where you place in the struggle currently, not something, you know, over our heads. So I kind of get what you're saying in that respect. It's kind of like a lot of black folks at one time were naming their children. As a matter of fact, we have one here, Anthony, and we're naming their children Leroy. Leroy means king, the king in French, and Anthony means something similar, if I'm not mistaken. And so it was just this thing. You have all these Anthonys and Leroys. Like, you're trying to say, if I'm understanding correctly, let's name our children something rooted in the current struggle. And I kind of get that. Last but not least, I saved him for last, but I really want to hear how he would sum it all up, is Brother Bakari. Brother Bakari, what are your thoughts on all of it, the naming systems as explained by the Akan perspective?
As explained by the Akan perspective, even though I heard the video, that's something I'm gonna have to study a little bit more. But and he was talking about the name and the meaning. I forget what his name, and you know it meant Sunday, but then it meant a certain Sunday because it had something in front of it. KWAZ, whatever Sunday was. I think that's a great thing for us to get. I think that's a great thing for us to for us to learn. So our name can mean something. So I don't think should we name our kids or go through naming of what the current struggle that we are going through. We have those names, and we have had those names forever. Everyone have one of these European tags as a last name. If you heard my first, middle, and last name, I sound like some old British guy. I'm not British. I'm not old, not yet. Uh, Getting there. Hopefully live to get old and then older. Uh, we have that name, so we don't have to say, let's name our children based on their current struggle. You have the name based on your current struggle. That's why it's basically like what I said I'm gonna do tomorrow, the show called Good Times. The current struggle is something we want to get away from, right? So studying is a con system. I heard Anthony talking about other systems that
Bakari, what
he's
time you gonna
studied.
come on the show? What time your show gonna be?
I don't know. It's just gonna be tomorrow. I'm gonna be honest with you, but it's gonna be called Good Times, based on the struggles that we think is living. So we should get away from, because, like I said, we all have a name based on the current struggle right now. Not the name that we're going by on YouTube, right? Social media. Koku, I'm not asking. You don't have to say it. Just think about your last name or your tag. RBG, Black Steel, anybody on here, just think about your name. We already have a name based on the current struggle. So since we want to get away from the current struggle, I think studying these uh, systems and start to name our kids, me, it would be grandkids, uh, with African names, and going through having the naming ceremony and doing everything that way. That would be great. My grandson is Bamani. That's his middle name. But his mom, who's Haitian, they're so caught up in the system, they don't want to call him Bamani. They want to call him Jaden, right? But I call him Bamani. His father calls him Bamani. But that's what we need to do. You got the definition of Bamani. We had a definition and we know what it means, and it's a powerful name, God's strength, right? So, and this is important. The naming is very important. But if we continue to say we're going to name our kids based on the current struggle, it's just going to be more Henrys. It's just going to be more people named with European names. We trying to get past this struggle. So we're going to study these systems and name our future with these names. So now, if that is something that we can do and something that we can defeat. That's my opinion on that. I get the mic.
Appreciate that, brother Bakari. I think Sister Cheryl wanted to add something. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Yeah, just really quickly, like just for our just I guess for like our people with the naming thing, if I honestly do not care if black people just all of a sudden decided to choose to name their children after, let's say that the mother gave birth under a tree, so you wanted to include the tree in the Akan language in the name. Honestly, that's better than continuing the future generations with names like Tyrone and Deshaun and what else? What else? These are names that black people are intrinsically tied to. You cannot take them away from these names. You can't take them away. Tyrone. Oh, that's a black name. Like you cannot tell a black person that that's not a black name. But what they don't understand is that it's a name. It's a European name that black people often use because Tyrone is still a British name. Deshaun is old is some type of English name. If you tell a black person that now, they'll look at you like you're crazy. So I think if black people just all of a sudden, if they just decide that they want to name their child after some event that happened and using a con word for it, you go right ahead. You go right ahead and do that because we can't keep We can't keep doing this with naming without reason. At least it's to me, at least it's an African name. That's a start for me. If somebody who is, especially somebody who grew up Christian or some European religion, that's the primary step. That's the first step for me. So I'll hand the mic.
I can see that point. I'll let
Sure,
RBG speak.
too.
I can see that point too. At least it's a start. I can see that, but I do see what RBG is saying, only because I realized there was a time when you had, like I said, all these Tonys and Anthonys and Leroys and stuff like that. But as a start, I could definitely see, hey man, just give them an African name. So I can definitely see that.
I just want to make clear, like, because I'm not denigrating the elaborateness of the ceremony. I wouldn't want to, like, what I'm saying here is I don't want to say that this is the way, and that if you don't do it like this, you're not doing it right. You know what I'm saying? Like, if someone is named Frank and he's out here debating, out here on the day-to-day, African genetics 100%, I mean, look, all I'm saying is that you have to, everything it comes in a different variation. And so if I see, if in however you variate it, okay, the name's European white, dude's doing good shit. Okay. I'm not even going to stress it. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as, like, you know what I'm saying? I don't have kids. I'm not going to sit here and tell a person how to have a kid, how to name their child. In the beliefs of how, you know what I'm saying? You know, what the Akan believe might not be what the Yoruba believe, and how the Congo. See what I'm getting at? So that is what I will say. I hope you know what I'm saying, no one misunderstood what I'm saying, in that we want to make sure that our names, you know, that the name doesn't, you know, when we talk about, you know, it's not a struggle. I mean, struggle, the word win, you know, as in, like, you won something, means struggle. If you won something, you struggle. If you won the war, you struggled. That's facts. That's etymology. So again, please, like, I just want to make sure, you know what I'm saying, that my words aren't being, you know, countermanded in a way where it's like, you know, in like a chastising, where it's like what I'm saying is not proper and correct interpretation. Because again, you know, it's important that we do name our kids and that we do recognize when we name our kids, but let's not do it in a way that, you know, look, again, people are going to do what they're going to do. I just want to make sure that, you know, if someone isn't named the right thing, but they're doing awesome work, that we're giving them a side eye. I mean, that's superficial. I'm a Pat. That's all I got to say.
Appreciate that, RBG. With that, we've come to the end of the show. I'd like to ask, before you guys leave.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, man. I just want, and I'm not going at nobody. I'm just saying this. RBG, all that is, the name and sir. You know what? Look at it this way. Don't look at it. I heard everything that you said, bro. And I get that, but look at it as we, as African people, particularly African people in this part of the world. You know, we the descendants of our ancestors who were trafficked from Africa, got all their culture taken away from them. Look at it like us reclaiming our heritage, reclaiming our African culture in some kind of way. It maybe it's a small way, or it's a big way.
Yes,
depending on how you look at it.
I'm with it. There's no separation.
Yeah.
I am not disowning the elaborateness of this. I'm not.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying. You know, it just, the naming ceremony and African name is just us reclaiming us. One small step in reclaiming us. That's all I want to say.
Good stuff, everybody. But before you guys leave, man, let's get the shout outs done for the week. I'm just going to go down the line with RBG first. what would you like to shout out this week? Something positive that happened to you or that you observed in the African world?
I don't know. Let's see. What did I see that was really nice? Just just people, just people. I don't know. Just I want to give a shout out to the Ethiopians, I guess. On the positive level, I mean, I don't know. I just see them catching a lot of flack. I know what they're trying to build that dam, and they're getting all kinds of pushback. So I want them to keep doing what they do. Don't let no one tell you otherwise. You know what I'm saying? All that water belongs to you. All of that water belongs to you. And don't let no one tell you otherwise. So I'm going to give a shout out to Ethiopia. All of that water. You know what I mean? All that water. All them seeds in it.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Black Steel, what would you like to shout out this week?
I want to shout. So this was the anniversary. This week was the anniversary of that brawl at the dock where these crackers attacking that black man, and the whole community rose up to fight back.
Montgomery.
In Montgomery, yes, that was, I don't know if it was 2 years, 3 years. Anyways, I just want to shout that out because that was something that even though we made jokes about it, but many times in our history, the only thing that stopped white aggression was black aggression. So that's just something that I want to shout out. And also too, the Sudan is really having a hard time, right? And I think that in the media, everyone's so focused on what's going on in Palestine that we're ignoring what's going on in the Sudan, and how those people are being systematically exterminated as well. So I don't want to forget them in their time of need as well.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. Anthony, brother Anthony, what would you like to shout out this week?
Yeah, man. Well, number one, I want to shout out all the brothers and sisters on the panel tonight, man. And yeah, Black Steel, I heard about that big ass bomb they dropped over there in Western Sudan today too. But I want to give a shout out to all of the Africans in America, the black people in America, who said to hell with that damn boycotting of African businesses. You know what I'm saying? I want to give a shout out to them. Shout out to the brothers who stood up with their kinfolks.
Good stuff, brother Anthony. Sister Alma, what would you like to shout out this week?
Yeah, I'm gonna just piggyback off of that about the boycotting the black businesses with the hair, the African hair braiding shops and everything like that. So I mean, I second that. Like, shout out to all the people who are not falling for that nonsense and still standing up and not listening to media.
Appreciate that, Sister Cheryl. Brother Bakari, last but not least, what would you like to shout out this week?
First, I want to shout out the Nerd Crew, my son and his friends. I went down to the basketball court yesterday, and they were playing basketball. Man, the Nerds have a long game going to 10. It's hard for them to make shots. But I saw 9 black men out there on that court. All of them in the last couple of years, starting with my son, who was offered here a position today, all of them. And the minimum they started with was $65K a year. And I hear the Nerd Crew talking about the investment in buildings and business they want to do in the black community. So I'm gonna give those young black men a shout out. I want to shout out Kendall Ray Johnson, 10-year-old black girl whose enthusiasm for agriculture and dedicated to being a farmer have received a scholarship from HBCU at 10 years old, South Carolina State University, in the agriculture department. She's also a part of the USDA National Urban Agriculture Youth. She's an ambassador for that at 10 years old. So I want to give her a shout out. And I want to give South Carolina State University a shout out for stepping up before we allow one of those white schools to get our youth to go teach them about farming. And of course, I'm going to give a shout out to all the shout outs I'm going to be shouting out in the future.
Well done, Brother Bakari. I'll give a shout out to the Ghanaian ministers and others who died in a helicopter crash this week. I think it was about 8 people who perished in that. And I know Ghana is kind of going through it. Trigger Happy, I know that's your home base there. So shout out to the deceased. I hope that the country can, bounce back from this. Like I said, 2 of them were ministers. I want to say it was the Minister of Defense and the Environment or something who passed. But shout out to the country. Shout out to those men and women and their families. And shout out to all of you guys. This show started off kind of slow tonight. Seemed like it might have just been me. But then Brother Bakari came on and hung out the whole time with me. So shout out to Brother Bakari as well. We'll be back next week. Hopefully I'll see you there, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bring a friend with you when you come along. Until that time, you guys be good.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.